Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 459. Aaron Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, here with Johnny V.
You are getting ready to go to Emporia. I'm a little bit jealous. It's not the same as the GBO that was always so exciting to go to, but the DDO, I've never been to a DDO, so
No, you haven't.
why wouldn't I want to go? And the weather, I wouldn't say it looks pleasurable, but
Really?
well, just hot and muggy.
Oh.
It's not supposed to rain much. There's not a lot of wind. I think day one was the highest amount of wind at 15 miles an hour, and then it drops. But stagnant and humid and
Love
lower 90s.
Yes. Okay, that sounds amazing. Well, it should be exciting to head back there, and we've seen the event played so many different in a couple different time frames, I should say. Typically, it's obviously was in April for quite a few years when we saw the GBO. Then it got moved back to when it became the DDO, when the DDO existed once COVID allowed us to come back, and they created the brand new event. So now it's pushed back a little bit more. Yeah, whatever. I guess we're here for it.
So we're trading.
Like weather ever affects our disc golf tournaments.
Welcome, Evan Scott. So we're trading the wind for the heat, is what it sounds like, because in April it usually wasn't pushing 90 degrees.
No.
But you had the opportunity for 30-mile-an-hour winds. It doesn't feel like we're getting that now. Instead, we're going to get I'm putting that in big quotes because I won't be there. I'll be here watching.
Yeah, what do you even do?
This event, nothing.
Nothing.
I'm literally
You
doing
do
nothing.
nothing.
Nothing. In fact, I'm going to be home all by myself. Like, family's leaving me.
As you should be. Wait, I don't know what that means. I didn't see 90s, but I guess we'll see. As I always say about weather, I'll believe it when I'm in it. That's what I ultimately say. But yeah, we're seeing a chance for scattered thunderstorms as of right now for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Okay, 86. That's pretty close. It says PM thunderstorms. Let's just say this right now. It says Friday, scattered thunderstorms, Saturday, PM thunderstorms, and Sunday, isolated thunderstorms. It may not be.
I looked at the thunderstorm when I was doing my Skip Ace prep. I needed to find out what the weather was going to be like, if it was going to be really windy, how it was going to go. It looked like it was like a half an inch of rain. So those thunderstorms might just be tiny bits of rain, and it might be at night. But as you said, we'll figure it out when we're there.
Yeah, it's Tuesday, so I'll believe it when I'm in it. That's what's going to matter. And somebody who's in it to win it, thunderstorms be damned. We're going to welcome in our champion from this weekend, Evan Scott.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, Evan, welcome to the show.
Thank
Evan,
you.
I've met you. I've followed rounds of your golf. I've talked about you for a couple of years now since meeting you. This is Johnny V. You've probably never met Johnny V because he never leaves the basement or does anything else useful. But Johnny, that's Evan. one of the many superstars I talk of.
I know. There's a lot. How often isn't there an Evan Smith on tour as well? And how often do you get confused for Evan Smith?
It's not super often, but it's definitely happened a couple of times.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm guilty of that.
I'm sure you are.
I'm pretty sure I've interchanged you two with no disrespect to either of you, but I think I met you both pretty much at the same event down at Huck Central a couple years ago. And you were both playing in it, and you were both playing well. And I was getting myself confused.
Let me give you a quick tip. Update your UDisc picture, because I think it's from when you were 12. It looks pretty young.
I think that was actually from the Huck Central that Terry was just talking about.
Okay.
So there you go.
That might be. Yeah, a couple years ago. Well, welcome into the show. We're seeing on UDisc world rank 22. Let's just start there. Your PDGA number is 89394, and when I say your UDisc world ranking is 32, how does that strike you?
That's pretty cool, actually. I didn't even know that. Last time I looked, it was like 50 or something.
This weekend, I'm sure certainly helped your cause. It also shows on here sponsored by Discraft along with Grip. Now, says turn pro in 2021. Let's get over a few of the basics, which is where you out of, how old are you, and then how did you get introduced to disc golf?
So I am 18 years old. I live in Duncan, South Carolina, which is up in the upstate, like Greenville, Spartanburg area.
Mm-hmm.
And I started playing disc golf by one of our friends in 4th grade brought in some Dave and Buster's minis to an indoor recess, and we started like throwing them into buckets, and we found out about disc golf like that.
Wow. Throwing okay, little Dave and Buster minis. Wow, that's an interesting way to jumpstart a career. Now, upstate disc golf, South Carolina. Wow, just talk a little bit about, or maybe explain that area for someone who hasn't been there and what the disc golf scene is like there.
It's a really good place to like kind of learn how to play disc golf and come up and start a career. Just there's a ton of people like even just my age that are really good, and there's always a lot of really good competition there. We have a ton of good courses. It's a pretty great place for disc golf.
Yeah, I think of Ryan and Brian and a few of the others that have just done so much in that area, and I know Todd Lyon from the PDGA also in that kind of general area. Those are a few names I can just throw out off the top of my head. You probably have a dozen more, but describe the golf that gets played in that area for someone who maybe hasn't traveled there. What's the disc golf like, and then what have you learned in starting there?
The disc golf there is almost all very wooded and just like a lot of shot shaping, lots of trees. So I think that's definitely the strong suit of my game, which kind of comes from just that's how I learned how to play is throwing through trees.
What would you say is the most uh, fun part of your game? Because you've been shown a number of times here on Disc Golf Network and other social media of banging some very long putts. What is the most fun or rewarding part of the game for you?
I would definitely say putting when it's good, but it's worst thing when it's not good.
Who have you're of that age in that you've grown up seeing disc golf being on YouTube. Is there any player that you followed or emulated or really modeled yourself after in any way, shape, or form?
When I very first started playing, it was definitely Paul Macbeth. I watched a lot of old coverage of him, so that's kind of how I taught myself to play, just watching YouTube videos, all the top pros from them, but probably Macbeth mainly.
And has it ever mattered? I mean, of course, he just moved to Discraft a few years ago. That's who you're sponsored by. Did it ever matter when it came to manufacturers? And then the follow up to that is, what was it about Paul that drew you to him?
Um, it was honestly just that the first video I ever watched was 2014 USDGC, and he
Hmm.
won. So that's ever since then. I guess I just decided I was a Paul Macbeth fan.
Okay, okay. And so, yeah, clearly, the um, what he was throwing, it really didn't matter. How did it come about that you were sponsored by Discraft as opposed to any other manufacturer?
In early 2021, Wes Shinovar hit me up about, and he got me on the underground team, and so that was really my first like manufacturer sponsor. So I definitely took that, and then went on to win Am Worlds that year, and they put me on the tour team.
That's a pretty good way to jump up to the tour team. I'm not gonna lie. We've for 20 plus years we've said that usually you can look at the Am Worlds winner and they're more than likely going to be a pretty solid pro, but it is almost a guaranteed way to get yourself a sponsorship. If you win Am Worlds, some team will pick you up. So again, more proof.
For sure.
What has it been like, having a title of that nature, but then also going out and pursuing a professional career? Because as you just said, you're only 18 right now. What is that transition been like? What has that been, that your story been like?
Honestly, it hasn't been like too wild to me, just because ever since I started playing disc golf in 4th grade, it's been like my mind's been set that I'm gonna be a professional disc golfer. So it's just kind of like finally getting to watch it unfold has been pretty cool.
All right. Well, let's get into a few basics or a few specifics, we'll say, from this weekend. First off, let's just start with tour life. Um, what is your tour? I don't want to say schedule. What has your tour life been like? How did that decision come about, and what does your tour life look like?
So last year, me and my friend Jake Mon, we traveled around with our parents, like staying in hotels and Airbnbs on tour, kind of like the first year, just get the hang of it. And then over the off season, we got an RV and hit the road on our own. But I've been loving it. It's really fun.
And was it just a no brainer that playing probably as many A tiers as you could, but then everything you could find in terms of the Disc Golf Pro Tour and all the elite level events? Have you been seeking out only the best of the best events to try and make sure you play?
The last 2 years, yeah, for sure. I've been kind of like pushing some of the smaller tournaments to the side just to make sure I can get out and play the big ones, try to get my name out a little bit.
So, Johnny nor I have ever been either in the state of Montana, and we certainly neither have we ever played in Montana. So, break it down for us. Your initial thoughts, your impressions, your practice. Like, what was that all like as you rolled into town?
Montana's beautiful. That's one of my favorite places I've ever been, and the course is a lot of fun. It's a little more like woods course, not super tight, but it's a whole lot. It's a change of pace from the golf courses we've been playing, which I like a lot. My only complaint about was the mosquitoes were horrible.
um, yeah, that I did see a little bit of that. What about the elevation and how do you adjust to that? I mean, South Carolina has, I feel like, plenty of elevation, right?
Yeah, but
I mean,
you're a sea level kind of guy.
Yeah,
like
so
that's your home. That's your standard, your home base.
so yeah, what was the elevation adjustment like for you?
So honestly, I never noticed any like difference in the elevation going to Montana. Like I played the 303 Open earlier in the year in
Hmm.
Denver, and that one I got there and I got out of breath really quick. My discs all were real stable, but I really didn't notice any difference in anything in Montana.
That golf course, that style of course, uh, is there anything else that you could liken it to or that you could compare it to? Or is everything just still relatively fresh for you? So every experience is a kind of a unique and new one for you.
I really can't relate that one to anything else. Like that is probably the only like golf I've ever played before, but I definitely enjoyed it.
Did you have a favorite hole or favorite stretch out there at any point? I mean, obviously you had plenty of
Yeah,
birdies, but was there any favorite stretch or set of holes out there?
I like the end of that course a lot. Like
Okay.
especially hole 7, big downhill one, but I thought including like 18 is a really cool finishing hole. I liked the end of that course a lot.
So round one, Johnny's got the numbers in front of me. Round one, when you opened up, you came in with an 11 under.
Tied for the lead with
Yeah.
Ty.
What?
Yeah.
How did you feel about that? Like when you put your head down on your pillow that night, you shot 11 under. It was bogey free. What were your thoughts?
It felt very repeatable to me just because like I never really put myself in a bad situation. I didn't feel like I was doing anything crazy to shoot that, so I was kind of that gave me more confidence just in the fact that it felt pretty easy and pretty repeatable.
And then round two, things are a little bit different with being, fully on camera, lead card. Obviously, there's always a conversation about people maintaining their spots, being in the spotlight, all of those types of things. What types of pressures and, jitters, excitement, nervousness, whatever? What were you feeling before the round started? Round two.
I'd say there were definitely like a little bit of nerves, but it was probably mostly excitement just because I knew I felt good about that course and I had good feeling that I was going to shoot another good round. So I was pretty excited to just go out there and get some birdies.
Yeah, it looks like you had 10 of the same holes you birdied between the two rounds. In
Yeah.
second round, you added a bogey and then I think an extra birdie somewhere. But when you say repeatable, that's clearly the case. And I know this is all speculation, but going into the what would have been the third round, still comfortable or different type of nerves going into what would possibly or be a final round, or did you go to bed thinking this round there's a really good chance it's going to be canceled?
Well, I had no clue it was going to get canceled. Like even all morning on Sunday, it was beautiful outside. I never that thought never even crossed my mind that we wouldn't be playing. But I still felt pretty confident about it. I was definitely a little more nervous than round two, just because that's the first time I've gone into a final round with a lead, especially like a 4 shot lead. But I still felt really confident about that day.
I think about the uniqueness of having rounds canceled and having tournaments canceled, and obviously then there's a ton of chatter online that then unfolds. Well, let's break it down first before we even get to the chatter. What were the conversations throughout the day that were had? As you said, you woke up, it looked nice, it was beautiful. The women were out playing. We saw the women finish. We saw Kristen, take it down. But what
Mhm.
what kind of unfolded as the day went on? What were some of those steps?
So I was just sitting like at the house we were staying at, getting ready to go, and all of a sudden I got a text from Brian Earhart saying that they just blew the lightning horn. So I started looking at the weather because that surprised me, and then decided to go to the course anyway because I knew it had been delayed, but just thought I should go ahead and get there just in case. And then we ended up sitting in the car for like probably an hour or so, just hanging out, slowly getting more and more news until finally somebody came and said it wasn't going to happen.
What was your initial reaction? Like,
We're-
Evan, it's Terry. Or hey, hey, Evan, it's Terry. We just canceled the third round. Like, what
You
immediately?
win.
Yeah, what immediately like comes over you?
I was definitely pretty happy because like it's pretty cool. Like right there, I figured out like that I won. I knew like it was done. It was pretty cool because I was hanging out with a bunch of friends. Like Nico was there, Jake Hebenheimer, AJ Carey. So like a lot of hugs, and it was pretty exciting.
Do you feel? I'll say slighted, but do you feel slighted in the sense that it's kind of anticlimactic? Now, of course, you know I know you're a competitor. You would have been more than happy to go out and play and all of that, and you very well could have won by 4 or 6 or 10. But there was no, like, when you tapped in that putt on Saturday, you had no idea that was going to be your last putt of the tournament. There was no celebration. There's no other anticipation or resolution of you winning. Does it feel, just in that sense, a little sad that you didn't have some of that hoopla to go along with it?
I'd say a little bit of that definitely. It would have been cool to have that like last putt in 18 with everybody there, but it's not too bad.
I was just gonna say
I'll take
think
the win every time.
Exactly. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting that you should feel anyway. It would just be different or odd.
Yeah, it's a
we don't
completely
see it.
different feeling because you're not surrounded by fans. You're not surrounded. It's you were in a small group of friends that got to celebrate. So it's actually it's a different situation than almost any other player will ever get to experience.
That's true.
Yeah.
What's the? I don't know how much you get online. I know you're on Instagram, but what's the dumbest stuff that you've seen as a result of this? Because there's a lot of dumb people saying a lot of dumb shit, like a lot. What's the dumbest thing you've seen or read?
Just a couple people complaining about why they didn't push the final round back to Monday.
Okay.
I saw. I get why they think that, but we got to drive 20 hours to Emporia. Like we left Sunday night after that final round got canceled, and we just got here like a couple hours ago.
Okay. Yeah.
So that probably the dumbest thing I saw.
Yeah, and I get it. More and more people are saying there's more money. We have more professionals. We should be playing it out. Of course, this has been,
Talked about for the last 5 years,
yeah.
at least.
At least. I was going to say, as long as you've been alive, they've been talking about how tiebreakers should or shouldn't end. Not tiebreakers, rained out rounds. And yes, of course, we do have more resources today than we ever have before. But at the same time, there's the drive. And then there's camera crews. There's volunteers. There's obligations.
Park rentals.
By all
things
these
like
other
that.
people that just aren't. That's not where disc golf is.
Not yet. We're getting there, but we're not there yet.
Do you think we'll see that day in your lifetime where this exact same scenario and then you get the text or the follow-up email after they've canceled and said, hey, play will resume at, the same exact time 24 hours from now? Do you think you'll see that situation in your lifetime maybe?
I think it would definitely happen in the future when there's like plenty more money, but probably not anytime soon. Because you were mentioning like there's a ton of volunteers that have to be out there to make that tournament happen, and they'll probably all have to go to work on Monday morning. But I think maybe a long way down the road that could be the case.
Yeah, that's a course particularly where I think spotters are probably vital. Honestly,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
that could be 5-hour rounds without spotters because with the elevation that you're throwing at and the type of woods, it could be very simple or easy to lose plastic and then to have to hike back up or down. Yuck. I can't even imagine how miserable that would be.
Yeah, like hole 1, you're throwing like straight just into the top of all the trees. You can't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
They had like 3 or 4 spotters down there, and we were still looking for discs.
Yeah, that's again, and those are just some of it. I mean, we're just scratching the surface. People have plane flights that are scheduled either for a Sunday night or probably a Monday in this case. And if you're in the middle of the heat of the battle and you're in 4th place, of course you don't want to have to change your plane flight, or in your case, drive literally across country and some
Yeah.
of these other things. So it's incredible. Uh, nonetheless, your payout's the same as if you play 2 or 3 rounds. Hopefully your bonuses are going to be the same, and you have an Elite Series win on your resume. Or I'm sorry, it's silver.
It is a silver.
I apologize. You have a silver event win on your resume now.
It's still a Pro Tour event, but it is
Yes.
considered a silver.
Do you? Is this just the evolution where you think next up I care about a major or an Elite Series or an Elite Series Plus or an Elite Series playoff or whatever we're using? Do you have the next
checklist?
Box to check?
Yeah, I'd love to get like an Elite Series or even maybe a major one day would be awesome. But it's good to check off Silver Series and then hopefully move on from there.
What of all the events on the tour, not especially now that this is in your back pocket, but is there an event where you're like, you know what, in whether it's this year or in 2024, and I said, hey, you know what, Evan, I can grant you a wish for one Elite Series win. It's yours. What one do you pick? What one do you want the most?
I'd probably say GMC, which I guess that's not even happening this year because Worlds is there, but that's my favorite place in the world for disc golf, so I'd love to win there.
All right, granted,
okay.
Next year. Ding.
Or you just win Worlds there this year, and we kind of killed
no,
2 birds
I'm not
going to
count that. Sorry. That's not an Elite Series win, my friend.
That's true.
Just
That's
a major.
What? So GMC, you're not gonna be able to play, but you'll play Worlds there, obviously later this year. What's the next event that you're? I mean, I'm sure you're looking forward to all of them, hopefully. But what's like the next one that you're gonna see yet this year that you're really excited about, or the anticipation's a little higher?
I say Preserve, probably. I think that's maybe 2 weeks away, but
Yeah.
that's one of the few. I've never been out there. I've never gotten to see that course, so I'm excited to go out and play there.
Okay. Yeah. You guys are in Emporia this weekend. Next weekend is Des Moines, and then the weekend after that should be the Preserve. And the Preserve, it's interesting you say that. What?
3 straight weeks of Elite Series events. That's quite a stretch. Normally we see it broken up by a silver event, but 3 straight Elite Series. How do you get yourself amped up for 3 straight weeks of high intense competition? Not that silver event wasn't, but it's as we know, better caliber of player. You've got everybody shows up.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I wouldn't say it doesn't feel too different in preparation for me. I kind of do the same thing, whether it's an A tier or a major, but it's, I guess, maybe a little more mentally taxing if I have to play the big tournaments like you were talking about for 3 straight weeks rather than getting that little break in between.
Is Preserve one of the few that you hadn't seen? Or, I mean, have you seen most of the tracks personally now with your touring last year and whatnot? Or what else is going to be new to you this year?
I think Preserve might be the only one. Oh, the Discmania Open in Canada. We're going there.
Okay.
That's the other one.
That'll be new for quite a few people.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I'm looking at your schedule right now. Obviously, you're hitting the next 3, as we say, and then you've got 2 silvers, which is KC Wide Open, Mid America, and then we go Ledgestone, LWS, which is Idlewild for those of you that don't know, and then GLDGC the GLO. I'm old. I'm sorry. And those are 3 straight weeks as well. I didn't realize that we had 3 back-to-back weeks. Oh my gosh. So you've got a full.
And D-Glow is 4 rounds out at the toboggan.
Yes, because it's an Elite Series Plus event. Or no, it's a playoff. Not Elite Series Plus. That one's a playoff event. Can you keep them
tiring.
Can you keep them all straight as far as playoff, Elite Series Plus? Do you have that kind of in your pocket? Because I'm still having a problem.
Yeah. I mean, I know which tournaments are elites and which ones are silvers. I'm still I couldn't tell you the order we're playing all the tournaments right now.
Sure.
Yeah, you'll be there, right?
Yeah.
Where's hole 1 and what's the course record, right? That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
So clearly, being 18, just wrapping up with high school in the last year or 2, is there any? I don't want to say concern. I don't know if that's the right word. Do you have any plan or aspiration or even thought of an online class or attending college or trying disc golf for a while? Or do you see disc golf exclusively as your full-time career or future? What are some of your plans there?
I might be starting some like online college courses this fall, but I'm gonna keep doing those like on the road, obviously. And I definitely see disc golf being a long-term career for me.
Okay. What does interest you if yeah, I always say if disc golf disappeared tomorrow or, heaven forbid you broke your arm and you couldn't play anymore, what is like the next most appealing or enticing pursuit you would have outside of disc golf?
That's probably something I need to start thinking about because somebody asked me. Like I have no idea.
No, you don't. Honestly, you don't have to think about it. With the caliber of your play, you're a 1021 currently rated player. You've been going up pretty steadily. You just went up 4 points this last update, which was today.
Mhm.
I don't see a reason why you won't be on tour for the next 10 years minimum. And maybe at that point you need to start thinking about something. But
Yeah.
Well, but what else interests you? Like, there's got to be some. If you were like, well, I kind of like baseball cards. I could be a card shop owner, dealer, or I'm into small engines, and I open a lawn repair business. I don't know. Like, what else interests you of any kind outside of disc golf? Anything?
I play a little bit of a like ball golf on the side. Not as much since I've gone on the road, but it's just something that I do for fun. I'm not great, but I'd say
Okay.
that.
Okay, fair enough. Again, I'm not suggesting or pressuring in any way. I just like to think about what else uh, could possibly pique your interest. Do you see yourself? And I know this again might be a long way out, or maybe not. Do you see yourself in any other capacity than a high level player within disc golf, as in
promoter, media,
team manager, any other kind of media obligation, instructor, trainer, whatever. Anything else interest you?
If I was gonna do anything else other than like player and disc golf, I'd for sure want to do course design. Like I
Hmm.
think I can do pretty well. And I've only designed like I helped design one course near me, but it was a lot of fun. I think I could be pretty good at that.
That's a great answer. And obviously we're going to continue to get more and more courses. Do you feel drawn to any particular designer? When you step on a course or you get done with 18 holes and you're like, man, I really love those Chuck Kennedy designs, or I love those John Houck designs, or
EMAC.
or EMAC or Avery Jenkins. Do you feel that or not really?
Not really, because I really don't know who's designed most of the courses I play.
Okay. Okay.
So the 20-hour drive from Zootown to Emporia, how do you split that up? Do you half and half? Do you just does one of you power through it as much as you can? Is it, hey, I won, you get to drive, punk?
It's I'd say it's pretty much half and half. It's just like I'll drive until I'm bored or I'm tired, and then we'll switch off, take some naps in between. But it's pretty much 50-50.
So, what is your RV van life, like in terms of, you said it's you and Jake. You guys went in on this together. What do you have in terms of the vehicle, and then is that your primary sleeping quarters for both of you?
Yeah, we have a 24-foot Class C RV, but
Okay.
we've stayed almost every single night we've been on tour, and it's honestly been pretty good. Like there's a couple things like you can't really take long hot showers. Like there's a couple things that aren't perfect about it, but I like it a lot. It's definitely the best option for us right now.
What's been I know you just mentioned, a long hot shower, but what's been the most, we'll say, surprising thing since you've got the RV, you've been on the road, and you're like, oh man, we never thought of blank. What would that be since being out on the road?
Definitely a washer and dryer.
Mm.
I kind of guess I took those for granted my whole life because it's laundromat every week.
Were you already frequently doing your own laundry, or was mom or dad usually helping with that before?
I mean, I would do it most of the time, but like it'd just be walk downstairs and throw it in the washer, not
Yeah.
get everything together, make sure I have everything, and drive out to a laundromat where you have to sit for 2 hours.
Mhm.
Yeah, it it's not a job I'd want, but there's somewhere has to be a a career or an opportunity for somebody that goes around and then gets pros laundries done because we have so many of them.
And there's so many vans like that. You could honestly,
It's a service every Monday.
every Monday you show up to the course, you pay someone $10, they grab your laundry, walk it, and they come back, 4, 5, 6 hours later. I'm on record as saying I missed when I first moved into a house, I missed the laundromat because I'm the type of person that would let my laundry go for way too long, and then you only have one washer and dryer, so you're doing it all day. I would let my laundry go way too long when I was in college and then bring it all to the laundromat. It's still 2 to 3 hours. So to this day, I still have, and the laundromat was always a nice time because it was relatively quiet. It was peaceful. You're by yourself. It's a little bit of time for reflection.
Yeah, but these kids have stuff to do now.
I know they do.
We couldn't play on our phones in college.
No, we couldn't. We had to bring a book or something.
If you are unwinding, maybe I'll go there. If you're trying to relax or just zone out, so it doesn't even have to be relaxing, but you're just trying to like check out, what are some of the things that you do, electronic related or otherwise?
I like to watch, like we watch TV a lot in the RV.
Okay.
So I'd say like watch TV, hang out, not do too much if I'm trying to chill out.
What are you watching?
Yeah.
Like, what was the last great thing you watched?
Right now we're on like season 2 of Breaking Bad. Never seen that before, but it's pretty good so far. I like it a lot.
Oh, it gets really good.
Yeah, it does. That okay.
All right, that's great.
That's new for both you and Jake?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
So you're already through the RV part in Breaking Bad, and you already know.
Yeah.
You're looking around the RV like, what can I make? But probably not a good idea.
Yeah, don't start making any drugs. That's probably not a good idea. Have you had, we'll all knock on wood maybe, cross our fingers here, but have you had any significant RV challenges? Any breakdowns or anything?
Not since we've been on the road, but when we bought it, we found out like a week later that before they sold it to us, somebody stole the catalytic converter off of it. So we had to like bring it back, and obviously like insurance or warranty paid for all of that. Mm-hmm. But that was a little bit of a hassle. But since it's been all good since we came out on tour.
Where often, I'm not trying to dox you or spook you out, but where do you guys find yourself setting up more often than not? Is that RV parks? Walmart parking lots, Cracker Barrel, like where's the most common, easiest place for you guys to kind of set up for a night?
I'd say maybe like half the tournaments were in like a campsite or an RV park, which that's definitely ideal situation. And then the other half will either be on site whenever the tournament allows that. That's great. And then other than that, we stayed in a couple Walmarts, stayed in some Cabela's parking lots.
Yeah, so Walmart's always kind of been famous for the most part allowing, not everyone, they are individual and sometimes say no. But Walmart's usually one of the most famous, and I think Cracker Barrel, like you just said. What are some of the other Cabela's? Is that kind of a known, one of the known stops? Are there any others out there?
Honestly, those 3 are the only ones that I know of. Like if we just need somewhere to stop for one night, like while we're traveling, we look for like a Walmart or a Cabela's first, just because those are real easy.
Okay. And let's just say it's 2 a.m, you pull into some random town, it's a Walmart. Do you just then, because maybe there's probably other RVs or semis there, you just assume you're good to go there? You don't call ahead or anything, do you?
No, we don't call ahead, especially like you pull in at 2 a.m. Like we get in real late, normally leave pretty early in the morning. So we've never had an issue with it.
Okay. Yeah. And again, I only know that because one day I remember looking it up. And they, basically said, yeah, we more or less have a standing rule, but any individual Walmart may not allow it. But I would assume those are far and few between. How did you guys decide on that RV? The size, the price, the power, the consumption, whatever. What were some of the decisions that led you to that exact purchase?
Honestly, we went to the local RV dealer at home. He showed us like 4 or 5 of them, and we pretty much just like picked that day. There wasn't like a whole lot of thought. We looked it up earlier in the off season, decided kind of like that we wanted to get like a little smaller Class C because this is the first time like driving anything bigger than like a truck, and especially now we're towing a Jeep behind it, so didn't want to get anything like
Wow. I didn't know that. You guys are towing a Jeep behind as well?
Oh yeah, that was the best decision we ever made to get the tow bar. It's
Really?
like the first Texas swing, we only had the RV, and that got really annoying really fast to have to like pack it up and drive it anytime we just needed to go 5 minutes down the road.
Wow. Okay, so break down that decision. Was it your or his vehicle already, or did you guys and did you split that, or how did the Jeep come into play?
The Jeep was Jake's parents got it for him when he got his license, so that was already his car. So we kind of decided we are gonna take the Texas swing and decide if it was gonna be worth it to buy the tow bar. And after those 3 weeks, we decided it definitely was, and went ahead and bought that. And that was the best money we ever spent.
So you took this from Texas. Obviously, you did the entire West Coast swing, California, Portland, Missoula, all that, all towing a Jeep behind with you, huh?
Hmm.
What I think the first question everyone then asks is what is your gas mileage like? What is how good is that for you?
It's not great. We get like 9 miles a gallon, so it's not the worst, but it's definitely not ideal.
Yeah, I was gonna say 8 is for some reason the number I had in my head, so you were better than that by one. What?
Now that
Go ahead.
it's not. Now we got out of the West Coast. We're not paying like 450 for gas anymore, so it's not too bad now.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little bit easier, and like you said, you probably jump in the Jeep then and go everywhere once you get basically set up.
Yeah, the
Huh.
RV doesn't move all.
I've been driving longer than you've been alive for quite a while now.
Yeah.
I can't fathom just learning that, especially maybe at your age. Obviously, you guys are very skilled that you've made it this far, doing a good job with it. But what is that learning curve like? If somebody's out there thinking, yeah, here's what I want to do. I want to get an RV, a 24-foot RV, and then I'm going to tow a Jeep behind. Like what words ugh, what words of advice would you be giving them?
It's honestly a lot easier than you would think. You just like you got to get used to it at first. Just take turns wide, hit the brakes a little earlier, but it's there's not much to it. Especially once most of our driving is just all in the interstate, so
Yeah.
you don't even
Okay.
notice how.
What's been? Do you have any road stories of good or bad or crazy or yeah, any kind of road stories when you're talking about a setup that large?
So when I think it was after we left Denver after 303 Open, we were driving to Stockton for OTB, and it was real late at night. And the when we towed the Jeep, it's got these like supplemental brakes so that the Jeep brakes are also being used, so you're not just wearing down the RV's brakes.
Mm.
And that kept messing up. Like every time we would start driving the RV, the whole like monitor would start going nuts, and we probably had to stop like 4 times in 30 minutes off the side of the road and trying to fix that. But we finally got it figured out.
Like the brakes on the Jeep were somewhat like applying themselves when you weren't trying
Yeah,
to.
exactly.
Okay.
There's like a brake cord that kind of cuts it off. If something goes wrong, it'll tell you that like, yo, you need to stop. And that just kept going off. We couldn't figure out what was wrong, but the Jeep brakes would just be like hitting themselves. You could feel it pulling the RV. So
Ooh.
that was a little scary at first, but it wasn't too bad.
Was it just a some kind of then mechanical glitch or something that was an easy fix for it?
Yeah, it ended up being a pretty easy fix. We just had to unplug and plug some back in.
Oh. When in doubt, reset, right?
Reboot. That's what I tell everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah, as if you're not frustrated enough by 9 miles to the gallon. The last thing you need is the car behind you also slowing you down while you're doing it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll start to wrap up for you because I know you got a big week. I'll be seeing you down there in a few days. But let's talk a little bit about maybe some of the discs and the support that you have that's helping put you out on the road. Talk about your sponsors and who they are and what they mean to you.
So my sponsors are Discraft, Grip Bags, and Drive Bags, which is like a chalk bag company, and they've all been awesome all year. It's like we still got some fundraiser discs. Me and Jake got at the beginning of the year. So like, if you see us in person, you can I'll hook you up with some of those. But that's about it for those.
Uh, hmm. What else could you use in terms of sponsorship? I mean, I'm guessing you'd love like Buc-ee's to drop a few $5,000 gift cards your way. But what kind of sponsorship types of needs Is there any other void that you have? I think of sunglasses, shoes, whatever. Is there anything else that you're open to the idea of representing?
Not anything that I really feel like I need, but I always thought like maybe like a shoe or a towel sponsor would be cool.
Okay. Okay. I like it. That makes perfect sense. And share as you will, but did you and Jake set up? I mean, is there a shared fund that you guys both feed into? Is it kind of who's being more successful on any given weekend? How do you guys do? Again, share what you're comfortable with, but how do you guys do
Finances?
Yeah, some of your finances, or is it entirely separate and you go your ways?
It's all we don't have any sort of like shared account, but it's all like 50-50. So I
Okay.
fill up gas and the next one, same with groceries and anything else.
Okay. What have you learned about Jake being on the road so much more with him in the last few months?
Honestly, I haven't really learned anything new. Like we've gone to school together since we were 2 years old.
Oh,
So
okay.
not much left to learn.
I didn't realize you guys had known each other that long. So you guys have both
Yeah.
come up playing together and whatnot, and no additional strain on a friendship. I mean, that's a long time to know each other. I mean, I've known Johnny a long time. I'm sick of him, so that's why I ask. Is there any additional strains or challenges?
I mean, there's obviously been like a couple of arguments, but nothing bad at all. Like it's honestly been good all year.
Good, good. And I'm not digging because I want one, but it's good to hear. I mean, that's a lot of time in a vehicle with someone, and you guys are experiencing some of your highest highs and probably some of your lower lows when it comes to being competitive, athletes out there. And I could see how that could be challenging. Now, we saw a dog earlier. Give us the scoop on the dog.
Oh, that's not our dog. That is Onyx. That's AJ and Deanne Carey's dog. We're watching tonight while they went out to dinner.
Oh, all right.
Dog sitting. Nice.
Okay. Well, is that common? Is like that scenario of watching each other's dogs and that type of thing. Is that somewhat common on the road?
We've watched over Onyx a couple times. Not all the time, but I like having him in here. He's fun to hang out with.
Any chance you guys will add an animal of any kind to the mix?
No, probably not. I like playing with dogs. I don't want to have to deal with it.
I hear you.
Good plan.
This just good dog without having to like after him and everything.
Will we expect to see, and if the answer is no, we're going to apply some pressure now. Are we expecting to see some kind of congratulatory or commemorative disc or release or anything like that from any of your sponsors? Is there a plan there?
I think I'm supposed to be getting some commemorative discs from Discraft. I'm not honestly sure how much of that I'm allowed to talk about though.
Okay. But they better do it, damn it.
Well,
I'm saying
we
that.
can,
I'm saying
we
that.
can talk.
We
all
can
we want
advocate
about
for
it.
you.
That's great. I mean, you can sit there and we can tell the guys over at Discraft.
Bob,
listen,
get on it.
Listen, Mr. Julio.
Yeah.
Just a few
100
of the crystal flex buzzes that are extremely rare or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. The 10-year anniversary edition.
Give us your workhorses. Give us your top 2 or 3 discs that led you and assisted you this weekend.
I'd say number 1 would have to be the like hardline putter plastic roach. This guy putted real well this weekend, so that's what I'm putting with. And then through the Venoms a lot. I got like 3 ESP ones in the bag. I've been loving those.
You throw those better than Anthony Barella himself?
He did this weekend.
I guess this weekend, yeah, I did. I wish I could throw.
Fired.
I wish like 600 feet.
Well, you apparently got it done. No matter how far they went or not, it was enough to get it done to have a 4-stroke lead going into what would have been the final day. And Evan, I just got to say, it's been awesome, watching you perform the way you have. And again, I always talk about that Huck Central experience and all the people that I saw there, and then being at Huck Central this year and being down in Florida, a few events. And I fair or not, I lump about 10 of you together in that, like, you're in the 17 to 22 range, and you're all like, you're our next, generation of superstars, and you're clearly putting a checking off one of the boxes this weekend with a silver event win. So we really appreciate you joining us tonight. You got anything you want to say to anyone out there before we let you go?
Just thank my sponsors, Discraft, Grip, and Drive Bags. Sorry, I got people like knocking on my window out here.
Who's hassling you out there? Are you at the RV park in Emporia?
Yeah, it looks like a. You guys want to say anything?
Hi.
Hi.
Jake.
Hey, Jake.
What's up, Jake?
Oh, I just want to say, I'm better at Evan than Mario Kart. He mentioned that last night on the Nick and Matt show.
Okay.
But I'm better.
Oh,
I just want everybody.
Which Mario Kart? Where are we talking? Like 64, Wii U, Switch? Like which one do you guys roll with?
Mario Kart A and just the like OG Mario Kart.
Oh, the
On
OG
the
one.
Wii.
Okay.
I'm better.
Okay. I mean, Johnny V, if he ever sees you in person, he's gonna challenge you guys. I'm gonna put my money on Johnny. He's not beating you on the course, but he might beat you in Mario.
Yeah. I'll probably beat you at Mario Kart, but not on the course, most certainly.
I see
the
Deanne.
carries,
I
yeah.
see AJ. Is that everybody? Awesome. Hopefully they come get their dog.
Yeah.
Who else is out there?
I guess the dog's out there too.
Okay. Seriously though, Evan, congratulations on this weekend. Awesome to see. We wish you the best of luck this weekend coming up down there at the DDO. And as I said, I'll be seeing you when I get down there. I start my drive tomorrow, and we'll see you out there. And best of luck. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I had a good time.
Of course.
Thanks a lot, Evan.
All right, we're better than Nick and Matt. See ya. Bye. Shots fired.
Oh, we're gonna start a Nick and Matt like
Oh
like
yeah,
a brawl or
definitely
got
a
some
rivalry
beef with them. I'm actually funny thing. My wife just started watching the
She
Netflix
started
series
watching
Beef.
the Nick and Matt show.
Yeah, it was
and not
awkward.
us.
It was awkward last night. I was like,
that's
no,
probably a good call.
There's a Netflix series called Beef, and it's pretty good so far. We've worked I think we got 2 or 3 episodes in. It was fun, but yes, we're gonna start a beef with the Nick and Matt show.
Oh, that's a good call.
I think we should.
Did I see?
No.
I think I did. Statmando Evan, I think I saw got married this weekend. So Evan, if I'm not making that up, and if I'm in remotely talking about the right stuff, which I'm pretty sure I am, congratulations to you. I think that's where I saw.
That's good for him.
Yeah, Matt, I think, was dressed up and was at the nuptials or something, and I'm pretty sure I saw Evan. I think it was Evan getting married. I'm pretty sure it was. So congrats. That's awesome. We'll save it for the after show. I was gonna say we could get into some other stuff, but let's go through
the results for Zootown.
Zootown.
Obviously, our guest tonight, winner Evan Scott, shoots a 23 under par. Probably one of the best money per shot ratio that we're going to have this year.
Yeah.
Second place, Clay Edwards. Third place, a tie with Mr. Anthony Barella and Ty Love. Fifth place, we got James Conrad and Dallin Blanchard. Seventh place, Jake Mon, we just saw. Tied for 8th, Nico, Colton, Ezra Robinson, and Kevin Jones and Gannon Burr. That basically rounds out your top 12.
And
now.
Just think, like, that RV, not so bad this weekend.
No, first
Jake
and seventh.
Yeah, Jake having a great weekend as well. So congrats to those guys.
That's a nice weekend. And an FPO, no shock, Kristen Tatar.
Who?
Kristen Tatar, Terry. Kristen
I heard
Tatar.
of her.
Yeah, so have I, because she wins everything. They got to play
What
all.
does that make her 6 for 8 this year? 6 for 9?
Something like that.
I think she was 5 for 8 at Portland. So if my math's right, has she won since Portland? No, this is the first.
This
time.
is the next one after Portland.
She probably won something else in between that we don't even know about. No, I think that makes her 6 for. I guess I could just click on her profile, but
you could.
I
but
think
that's
that makes
too
her
easy.
6 for 9. 9 starts this year, 6 wins. Not
That's
too shabby.
Not a bad year. Kristen Tatar wins by 4 strokes over Missy Gannon. Third place, Katrina Allen. Fourth place, Sarah Hokum. Fifth place, Stacy Haas. Sixth place, Stacey Ronsley. 7th place, Sayananda. 8th place, Holly Finley. And a tie for 9th between JK, Juliana Korver, and Erica Stinchcombe. So there's your top 10 for FPO. But Terry, there's more.
No.
We've got a couple other events that went on this weekend.
Okay.
So we had a silver event. Overseas, there were 2 big events. There was a Euro Tour event, and there was a PDPT event, which is basically the Finnish tour, Prodigy Discs Pro Tour. Real quick, we'll talk about. I'm sorry. That's this weekend is the Prodigy. Hold on, I got to go back because it clicked off of it. No. It was the Stone. No, where is it? Crap. UDisc, why are you wrecking me? I had it open.
The Pro Forester,
the Pro Forester
was played this weekend, yes.
and the Nokia Open.
Yes.
Both of them. So we had a European Open, an EPT, Euro Tour, and a silver event. Gosh, they wrecked me with the thing. When you click on it, it didn't stay where it was. So let's talk real quick about the Nokia Open. This was the EPT event, the European Pro Tour event, over in Nokia, Finland. Obviously the same. This is on a modified version of the Beast. Not quite exactly what we see at the Nokia Disc Golf Park.
Okay.
And winning this one in Terry, why don't you take FPO?
Looks like Heidi Line, Olivia Kinstedt, and Silva Sarnen were your top 3. So congratulations, Heidi taking it down by 7. So a significant margin of victory there.
Over on the MPO, Lori Lettinen wins in MPO. Daniel Davidson takes second, tied with Maury Vielman. Now, Maury was on pace to win, and he took a triple bogey on the 14th hole to more or less knock him out. He lost by 1 stroke, and then he birdied out. Yeah, I was watching scores.
Ouch.
And it was like, okay, he was up there. I think he was maybe tied for the lead or something along those lines. And then he gets to the 14th hole and he takes a triple. And I was like, oh, that just knocked him out of the chance for the win. And I kind of stopped paying too much attention. I was paying attention to the Macbeth one over
in Croatia.
Over in Croatia at the Pro Forester. And then I come back and look, and I'm like, holy crap, he only lost by 1 because he ended up birdieing the last 4 holes. So amazing by Maury. His rating jumped like 20 points. I think he went from like 1,004 or something along those lines to like 1,020 or 1,021. Not Statmando. I'm not going to look up the exact things, but it was a huge jump. He's been playing out of his mind. So now we're going to go over and talk about the Pro Forester, which is the one that Paul Macbeth played. Now, this was the very first stop on the Euro Tour, and I got a chance to watch live, which nobody else did because you don't have access to the back end of the Pro Tour stuff, where they were doing a test stream for future Euro Tour events. Let me say, it looked really good.
Okay.
But winning this one was Paul Macbeth. No shocker. He comes out and beats the field by 8 strokes over Jakob Samarad. 3rd place, Mr. Scott Stokely, who has a really good weekend. And then 4th place was Silver Lap. So that was your top 4 over at Pro Forester in MPO. And in FPO, a brand new name, which is Marion Must, wins in FPO by a single stroke over Andrea Bernac. And in 3rd place, Brigitte Wieder.
Nailed it.
I think so.
I like it.
I think so. So those are your big 3 events this past weekend where we saw people literally all over the world playing disc golf and some of them winning. As we say a lot, the rumors of Paul Macbeth's demise a little bit squashed again when he comes out and shoots like a 1070 rated round.
Oh, but he was overseas.
Just because we saw last week at the Estonia Open, Paul played miserably.
Yes.
And then he comes out this week and he dominates.
Yeah, of course, part of the narrative that people will throw out there is that the field wasn't as strong there.
Who cares?
As it was at some of our Pro Tour, our regular Elite Pro Tour events. I continue to say, hey, you can the ratings are, again, just one little snapshot. They're not the end all be all, but the ratings do tell a little bit of a story, at least in some of the caliber of golf that's played. And then I always follow that up with, you can only beat the people who show up, that play in the tournament, that are in your division, for all the rounds that are offered. That's all you can do, right? Like, just like no one should hold anything against Evan for what he did. You can only beat the people that show up and play the rounds that are offered.
Yeah, Paul shot 1071, 1063, and 1071.
Sure, and which is obviously solid golf. It's but I'm just saying it's not like it wasn't a 1080 average weekend. It was solid golf. It won. He won. It won him.
That would I bet you 8. That rating would win DDO this weekend.
That would be an interesting side note. So what does that average out to?
Looks like
67,
1068 or so.
10, yeah, probably around 1068. Rough math tells us.
That sounds about right. About what would I think that'll be?
You think that'll do it?
I think that'll win DDO this weekend.
All right. Well, I guess all we can do is wait and see.
We can just wait and see, and we'll forget about it by next week. So.
Probably. So one of you needs to remind us. Tim, you're the most responsible one on the board. Remind us next week if 1068 golf average wins DDO. I mean, Paul made a post. Of course, he's in the story because he is part of a story because he did play so poorly in Estonia, which he very much owned up to on social media. He then, I think I saw him make a post say, I had one or two of my best practice days I've had in years. Things felt great. And then I think it was the very next day he went out and shot the hot round at the event. So sometimes we know he can play with a chip on his shoulder, and a lot of our players can, different things get different players fired up. Look at Eagle McMahon. I mean, what a story there with not cashing at OTB to come back 7 days later and win a very difficult BSF. So different things get different people going, and we'll see how sustainable is it. Who knows? Clearly he's looking for a little boost of confidence as well at this point, I'm sure. So, and we can't say enough probably about Scott Stokely. In his 50s, over there, obviously he's been on tour. I saw him multiple events over in Thailand earlier this year. He's fully dedicated to what he's been doing, literally all over the world. It's insane and awesome. And I was talking to somebody this weekend about forget the golf, forget the finishes, forget the money that he's donating when he wins. Every single penny he wins, he's just donating to a local charity or organization anyway. Forget all of that. This man is traveling around the world and just living life. And if that's not payment enough, I don't know what the hell is. Like it is, I'm not going to say I'm not jealous, but I do very much appreciate and respect the experiences that he's having, because I've had the tiniest sliver of what he's doing this year, and I love the heck out of it. So it's awesome to see. And Scott Stokely's classes online are available as well. I mean, you want to call it cheesy or not, he makes a post and says, hey, I just finished on the podium internationally behind Paul McBeth and Yakub.
Yep.
And then goes on to say, hey, I do offer training sessions. And you could maybe roll your eyes, but not, because clearly he's doing things that lead him to success. And he's been doing it for decades. It's not like he just made up this class overnight after he performed well one weekend.
One of the things that surprises me most about Scott Stokely is not only his age at which he's doing it, but his health. He's never injured. You don't hear him talk about like, oh, my shoulder, my elbow, my back, he's just, whatever he's doing has shown to be repeatable. If there is someone, and I'm not getting paid for this yet, Scott, send me a check, I would think about wanting to learn from, it might be Scott. Whatever he seems to be doing seems to be working in the long run. So I just take that with a grain of salt. We talked to Evan Scott here. He was your 2021 Amateur World Champion. He got himself a major. We had another major awarded this past weekend. The 2023 PDGA U.S. Amateur Disc Golf Championship was played over in Wixom, Michigan.
At the famed Toboggan.
Ryan Mulder, congratulations. You are a major winner. There was a really nice post about him and his dad celebrating. His dad looks about our age, which hurts a little bit
Yeah,
inside.
that makes sense. I mean, because he's 15.
I know, and I've got
I've got a 14-year-old.
I've got a 13-year-old. My God. Congratulations, Ryan Mulder, on a 7-stroke victory at a major. That's nothing to scoff at. He is currently 990 rated, and you said 15?
15.
Another name that people are going to be on the lookout for in the next 3 to 4 years. I'm sure he'll be on this show, just like Evan was, and we'll be talking about his US ADGC, and maybe, depending on what happens, maybe an AM Worlds Championship too. I don't know what his schedule looks like. Probably look and
I was just
see.
gonna say it's a click away.
It was actually 2 clicks, but okay. He is playing in the 2023 PDG Amateur World Disc Golf Championships.
Yes. So we'll see him at Worlds.
And then he's playing the DGPT later this year. So this might officially be his season.
Yeah, this is likely his last run at all AM events. He's played in MPO and he's declined cash more than once in MPO this year. He's out of Indiana, and I've heard stories about just how far he throws, how good he is, how dedicated he is. And I'm not talking about Carter Aarons here. Although I could copy and paste a lot of what we heard about Carter and his work ethic, his passion, long drives, great putting, all of that stuff. Someone told me he was putting 2,000 putts a day, which made my arm just hurt just thinking about it. But
slow down.
When you are that age and you're loving life and you want to get better, you find a way. We could probably find a way to do it. Doesn't sound appealing at this age, but yeah, he's
I don't know
grinding.
if I have 2,000 putts left in my body. Much less.
Well, if you made more of them, then you'd have even less to then have to take after, right?
I don't know. I don't know how that works.
Anyway, so hats off. Congratulations, Ryan. As Johnny just said, I'm sure we're going to be seeing and talking to you more. We just saw that your schedule for the rest of this year in terms of you playing in a bunch of amateur events and then being at Ledgestone on the pro side obviously makes perfect sense as well. Again, with school and everything else, I'm sure his schedule is skewed in that way. But I'm thinking Ledgestone's obviously going to be, if offered cash at Ledgestone, I'm going to go ahead and take a bet that he's going to be taking that.
More than likely. And as of right now, he doesn't have to worry about school.
That's what I'm saying.
Welcome to summer.
Real quick update. He was 990 this weekend. I'm assuming this weekend's stats also got pulled into the ratings update that took place earlier today. He's now officially 994. So, Ryan, congratulations. Who else were the top 3, Johnny? Let's read them off quick.
The other players, Tanner Boggs takes second place by losing by 7 strokes. And Waden Sides is third place, tied with Danny Moynihan. So those are your top 3 places. All those guys are 990, 987, 983, 985, whatever they are right now. This just shows me what they were literally this past weekend. Take a look again. Look at the last. Did you happen to see who Evan Scott beat at AM Worlds? Who number 2 was? I don't know. I had it up, so I didn't know if you looked.
I didn't look. 2021. No, I don't know.
Bobby B, Robert Burridge. Another player that we've been talking about on the tour. Like these are the names. These are the names you need to learn now because they will be on your tongue in the future.
Okay. Nice work. Congrats to the team. I will fully admit I didn't get a chance to see the media that was produced from that event either. However, it looked like they dealt with some rain, and I did get a text from Felix over at Ace Run this weekend.
Oh.
And I know him and Conrad were 2 of the workhorses behind the coverage out there this weekend, and I got a text at one point saying, You, sir, are crazy that you did 3 rounds out there, but then also had that 7-hole playoff last year where you played 1 17 and 18, 1 17 18, and then back down to 1 again, and then had to walk back up that damn hill. No, but and they dealt with rain. So again, thank you to all of the crews out there making coverage happen, including everyone over there in Missoula and beyond as well. So. Makes for some long weekends. Yes, the golfers have their jobs, and the cameramen, I wasn't one this weekend, but the cameramen certainly are doing work out there, so we appreciate it.
Toboggan is known as a very hilly course, but probably not as hilly as the High Plains Challenge out of Fort Morgan, Colorado. The Mile High Disc Golf Club puts this one on. Winning is Joel Freeman, Colorado native. Second place, no surprise, Joe Revere, who could be playing in the Masters division. Saying, congratulations, who's still rated 1032. Third place, Connor Rock. Fourth place, Paul Barsick. And fifth place was Tyler Liebman. Congratulations to the top 5 there. And your FPO champion, Sammy Joe Guerrero. Congratulations to Sammy Joe out of Colorado Springs, Colorado. That is your High Plains Challenge, sponsored by Discmania. And I think we have one more A tier we need to talk about, the SeaTac Takeoff 2023. That's the final A tier over in SeaTac Washington. Winning in the MPO division was Kyle Crabtree. Second place, Chandler Fry, tied with Kirby Snyder. Fourth place, Alex Olson. And fifth place, Alan Wagner. The FPO side, I saw this. This was spoiled for me. Thanks a lot to social media. Ella Hansen wins in FPO over Allison Maybutt.
Also, I believe is Allison from Washington?
She is. She's in Kingston, Washington.
I believe
I just knew that off the top of my head.
Yeah, of course you did.
Me hovering.
Meanwhile, I'm trying to remember when I just saw her. It was at the Beaver State Fling. We did have a couple of other A tiers, at least one more that I do want to quickly touch on. It was only a 2-day A tier, which is somewhat unique, but they played probably 27 holes or 24 holes, 27 holes each round. So they still played 54 holes spanning 2 days, a minimum for those that care out there. As far as I last checked, you need to play a minimum typically of 54 holes to be an A tier. Unless your round gets rained out. But you have to play 54 holes, but they do 2 rounds of 27 over there at Blue Ribbon Pines, affectionately known as good old BRP. And taking it down, Dr. Smooth, Cale LaVisca, took it down over Casey White. Garrett Everson finished 3rd, Paul Oman in 4th, and Calvin Longquist finishing tied for 5th along with Mitch Privet. Privitter. Nice work, Mitch. And then on the FPO side, Natalie Ryan bested Alyssa Pearson and Ellen Widboom. Alyssa and Ellen had tied for 2nd, and Shelby Dutton had finished 4th, with Raven Klein finishing 5th. So those were your...
We had one more I missed. It's the 2023 Infinite Disc Beehive Classic out in West Point, Utah.
Get it together.
I know it wasn't with all the other ones. I had to scroll up just a little bit because it was a 3-day event here. MPO, Matt Bell wins over Eric Oakley and Caleb Kaplan. So congratulations to Matt Bell. And in the FPO, Karina Knowles in a 2-woman field beats Ruby Hall.
Nice. All right. Now I think we've covered at least all A tiers, and I know, lo and behold, because I think we get a Brian Schweberger 763. I don't know. I can't remember, but I know, I'm almost positive he did win. I think I saw a post somewhere. PDGA 12989 got his 372nd win.
I remember I bookmarked it last week, so I could have just brought it right up.
Well, there you go. So nice work, Schwebby, picking up another victory this weekend.
We're going to have to stop the Schwebby count for a little while. He's only at 372. I'm not going to really care that much until he gets about to 390, 395.
Then, okay. Well, he took down MP40 this weekend, the Myrtle Beach Disc Golf Championship in MP40. MP40. So congrats to you, Schwebby. Dan Hastings will give you your shout out for taking down MPO, and Debbie Scott was the lone contender in FPO. Let's pivot for just a second. Does there need to be, and this is we'll say this is I don't want to say a borrowed topic, and it's not entirely new. Does there need to be any distinctions or any clarifications when someone like Debbie this weekend, of no fault of her own, showed up? She was the only FPO winner, the only FPO player. Does that matter?
No.
In any capacity from a record keeping perspective? Clearly,
no.
She showed up and she won. You can only beat the people that show up. Does that matter stat wise? Because then I think of someone like a Schwebby, who rarely or probably never is in a single person situation, just because he's played in two of the more popular divisions in pro, in MPO and MP40. Is there any distinction that ever needs to be made? Is there?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
And I'm not suggesting there has to be.
It's
just sometimes it feels like things could feel skewed. I mean, Debbie is not running around saying, "Hey, everyone, suck it! I got my trophy. I beat you all." I'm not suggesting as much, and it's not her fault. Other FPO players aren't showing up, so I'm not suggesting it. It's just that's a common thing that can happen in some of our smaller divisions, and I'm just using that one as an
FPO,
example.
Any age restricted division,
and
MP
55
or MP 60
MP,
or whatever. No, I think you just there is no baseline. A win is a win, because would it matter if she came out and shot 830 golf, or what if she came out and shot 1030 golf?
Yeah,
it just a win is a win. Congratulations, you get a win.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of news, PDGA news, not much this week, but there was an update to what they're calling the mid-event suspension and cancellation guidelines policy.
Why do we need to bother with that?
Something happened this weekend where, no, more or less what they're doing is they're just updating the manual, and you can go out. It's on the PDGA page. Some significant changes here that they're talking about is the required threshold for rounds to count as an official round. All common holes are now included in the round, as long as at least 9 common holes have been played by all players. The previous policy only allowed rounds to count if they were 9 holes, 13, or a full round. So now if it's a 10 hole, you're going to count 10 holes. If it's 11, you'll count all 11. But ratings only count if they're 13 holes or more, because there's a minimum due to the formula, and I think there's some spaghetti that has to get thrown against a wall, and if it sticks, I'm not 100% sure exactly how that works.
If it's ragu.
Yeah, only if it's ragu. So
interesting.
Yep, so that is the big significant change. There's a couple other ones here that says only in extenuating circumstances and with approval from the director of event support, a partially completed round may be vacated or considered complete to proceed another round. Because normally the precedent is if you day one it's canceled, you would normally then the next day you'd finish round 1, but there are some extenuating circumstances where they could talk to it and say, cool, we're just going to complete round 1. Everyone finished
that has
10
a
holes.
Huge
But again,
implication.
Very rare. They say it has to be extenuating circumstances, and you have to get the approval from the director of event support. I don't foresee us using this.
I do.
Hardly ever.
I think the extenuating circumstance is,
come on, tell me, Terry.
It's MPO lead final card of any given day goes off at roughly 3:30. The scenario would be someone's played, and maybe consider this fair or not. They go off at 3:30 and they've played 2 holes, and at 3:50 there can be no more play for the day. The people that had completed rounds earlier maybe played in a downpour for the entire day for the previous, because they started at 11. The first MPO card went out at 11. They played their whole round. They're on hole, whether it's 17 or they're done with their round. I don't know which would make for a better case. But anyway, they've played their whole round in a downpour. The lead card goes off at 3:30. They get 2 holes in, and then they say, yeah, now there's lightning, now there's everything else. We're halting it. As of right now, the way the rule stands is that round has to get completed, right? The MPO lead card, which has happened as recently as
the next day it would be completed.
Exactly. The next day they'd have to complete it, where they would come out and they played 2 holes, and then they would have to play 16 probably in the morning, and then again 18 again in the afternoon. I'm just thinking of those types of scenarios where, again, fair or not, somebody plays in a downpour for 18 holes, somebody else doesn't even start their round or is 3 holes in, and then the next day it's gorgeous out, and now but you're playing 34 holes of golf, but you're in gorgeous weather. Like I don't know. I'm just thinking of like
I just
some of
don't-
those scenarios where, because they've always said you must complete. We're not going to cancel out a round. We are going to always complete what's been started. So I'll be interested to hear where that extenuating circumstance really comes into play, and then how it gets applied.
I don't think we're going to see it hardly at all or hardly ever. But obviously they have it here for a reason.
I worry that this will continue, and we're already playing outdoors, so anything can happen. But I do worry that forecast and then actual weather. There's forecast weather, and then there's realized weather. I worry that may or may not start to factor in more and more. And here's part of it. If you cancel out a round, like let's just say it's Saturday, you cancel out round 2 in some capacity. What happens if round 3 never even gets started? What happens if all of Sunday is terrible as well? And then you don't have any golf to rely on. Again, it's going to come down to the numbers, holes, common holes played. I like all of that stuff. I kind of here's what I'll say. Mark the tape. I dread the day when this comes into play, because everybody's going to complain because it's not going to benefit someone. That's what I dread. And I'll be on the sidelines watching, and
Chuckling.
it will be interesting.
Yeah, you will give us something to talk about.
will.
Obviously, the policy itself, the name has changed. It used to be, a weather suspension or cancellation. Now it is called the mid-event suspension and cancellation, because it can be canceled other things than just weather. They were saying for flooding, things like slicked ground, high winds in woody conditions.
There could be a bomb threat in the area. I mean,
Correct.
anything could happen.
There's a lot of things, just more or less safety concerns, heat related. As we see things like someone has a severe illness, a heart attack, something like that, and they need to just call it for now because something happens, or someone gets a disc in the head, as we saw. That could have, in theory, depending on the seriousness of it, that could have caused a serious delay, more so than it did, where you then need to cancel, which is not weather related. So
yeah,
it's semantics, but it's there.
Yeah, and I think about I know it's another extreme example, the gentleman that had gotten shot during an event last year down in Kansas City area, and then you're thinking about continuing play, not continuing play, what happens the next day, the rounds, the groups. There are so many of those scenarios. And like you said, they're so rare, but we do have to now start accounting for just about anything to happen. So, okay, that's that certainly is interesting.
Yeah, go ahead, especially if you're a TD, go ahead and look at the thing, because they do actually have a chart out here for number of players remaining and number of holes and approximate time it would take. So, if it is 5 o'clock and you have 72 players that have yet to play 18 holes, how much time on average is it going to take? Blah, blah, blah.
And if a train is leaving Cincinnati at 78 miles an hour, and another one, yeah. All right. Well, again, having it in writing, having something that we can specifically go to. And then the funny part, myself included, will be when one of these does have to get implemented, everybody like, there should be like a policy for this. And then we're like, no, there is.
There
like,
literally is.
Here it is. Well, I don't agree with it. Well, too bad. Okay. A couple other things regarding policy. Quickly throw out a reminder, just as a regular old PDGA member that I am. Make sure you're doing your diligence in terms of the board of directors, the voting. the research you want to do. I know Bob West Sportsmanship Award is being, I think there's some still open nominations that can happen for that. State coordinators, provincial, what's the word? Providences, but would it be provincial? I don't know what the word is. I'm not smart. Those people in Canada, those real nice people in Canada.
I'm going to let you hang on that one.
Okay, that's fine. Do you know what it is?
Nope.
Okay. So all of your state coordinators and things of that nature. So make sure you're getting out to vote. Luke, who is out on the board, coming in from Australia, maybe maybe we can continue to put out some conversation feelers and offers. And if you want to know more from a board member, I know Luke is generally following along specifically. Maybe there's a few other board members that pay attention to our channel. I don't recommend that, but there might be a few others that are out there. There's something else I was going to say right on the edge of all of this. I don't remember what it was, though. So anyway, go out, pdj.com. There's a bunch of info out there. That sound about right?
Yeah. I think that's all the news and important news and events and interviews that we have. Other than that, I've seen one or two little things on social media that I got a chuckle out of. I believe it wasn't Joel Freeman. Was it Andrew
Fish?
No, it wasn't Fish.
He was talking about PDJ related stuff.
Correct. No.
Twitters.
I'd have to look. I can't remember who it is, but there was some discussion about feature cards, and I saw that whoever it was had a full spreadsheet of each of the event.
Sounds like Andrew Presnell.
Yeah, I think it was Prez.
Yeah, he started putting that together a year or two ago.
Yeah, and he's got a list of everyone who's made feature cards and hasn't, and I saw the spreadsheet online that he had posted. I just kind of got a chuckle out of that. It seems to be his, and I don't fault him for it. It seems to be his kind of his issue or his hill to die on is who gets picked for these cards, why they get picked. It used to be that the Pro Tour got to pick somebody, the post-production company got to pick someone, the event, and then the sponsor or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's kind of interesting now that the post-production company, Jomez usually, is just the DGPT. So we used to have two people picked. Does Jomez still get a pick?
Yeah.
Or does it not matter anymore? And so if not, who gets that extra pick? I don't know. Honestly,
it be me?
It should be me.
No.
I'm only going to pick Prez constantly. So Presnell, where it's
a good call.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I just thought I was thinking about that when I saw Presnell's spreadsheet. I'm like, who gets that other pick? Because there were discussions on how it gets picked, and it's not always the same. It shuffles just a little bit. I don't know the answer.
Okay. I do remember the other very important thing that I did want to quickly throw out, and he reached out to me, and we will have him soon. Sooner than later would make sense. Chuck Conley. Nope.
Conley.
Chuck Conley. He is the tournament director for this year's United States Women's Disc Golf Championships. He does want to get on here. He wants to talk about it, and we absolutely want to give him the platform for it. Had we not had the timing that we had tonight, it would have been good to have Chuck. So hopefully one of these weeks very soon. So I'm going to also just throw it out there as posted, a reminder that registration for the 2023 U.S. Women's Disc Golf Championship opened at 8 o'clock last night, 8 o'clock Eastern last night, and that registration opens for all divisions, at 8 o'clock on June 12th. So if you haven't registered, I guess I'd want to take a look. It's taking place September 21st through the 24th. Again, just making sure that everyone knows. I know sometimes people overlook that. Things get lost in the shuffle. It's not a Disc Golf Pro Tour event, but it's a major. So sometimes we've had those problems of people not knowing when registration for certain things happen. And then we have petitions and fights and qualifiers, and we have everything else. So my PSA tonight would be go double check for the 2023 USWDGC. If that's something that interests you, just throwing out the reminder, or your significant other or whomever, it's out there. And yes, we'll get the tournament director, Chuck Conley, on here at some point. Spike Heiser. Chuck Conley. Hopefully that makes sense for all of you guys. All right. I think in terms of the regular show, If you think we're good, I'm good.
I think we're good. I just want to mention, as we don't often do it in the regular show, if you want to support Smashbox TV, you go to patreon.com/SmashboxTV, and you can be entered into our weekly giveaway, or you go to smashbox.tv/weekly giveaways, and you can enter in manually every week. That's it. Support us.
Or don't.
No. Support us.
I don't.
You're listening right now. If you're hearing this, you should be supporting us.
That, I think, is a stretch.
I don't think so. I think we should be allowed to force people to support us. I take people's wallets when they're not looking because they listen to me. That's why they don't let me at the Pro Tour events anymore. I've been taking people's money.
Speaking of which, when I was in Portland a few weeks ago, this is a quick side tangent. I was getting a sandwich at some sandwich shop that I had just Googled. I'm like, I'm going to go find a local sandwich shop. And it was, and by all means, I'm not suggesting a pat on the back here, but it was an invigorating feeling when I watched the woman in front of me pay for her sandwich. And then I looked down, and when she, I think, pulled out her wallet or whatever she pulled out, a $20 bill fell to the ground, and she had absolutely no idea it had happened. And of course, I immediately tapped her on the shoulder. And actually, I didn't tap her. I just said, "Excuse me." Took her a second, and I'm like, "You dropped." She's like, and like the excitement that was in her, like carried into my excitement. It was just a really weird feeling. Not that. I mean, it was obviously the right thing to do. I'm not suggesting otherwise, but it was just a really weird feeling how exciting it was to be like, "Hey, you dropped that," and she had just no idea whatsoever. So,
way to go, good guy.
I felt richer because of it.
But you weren't. You were $20.
I wasn't.
You were $20 poorer than if you would have stolen it.
I don't think I do not consider myself
Oh,
poorer.
no, you are $20
I
poorer.
consider myself exactly where I should have been, which is without her $20. That's where I should have been.
I'm just saying, Terry.
That's where I remained,
You're
and I'm
$20
good with that.
poorer than you could have been.
No. All right, we're gonna thank Evan Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. Kristen Tatar, again, congratulations for winning yet another silver event.
Someday we'll have Kristen Tatar on. She's not so much of a social, and not a late night person either. So.
Yeah. So and quite frankly, I know if we don't get her this week, there's probably next week.
I think we've got a few.
She knows what she's doing out there. Congrats to all the winners and performers this weekend wherever you were playing. We appreciate you guys for joining in. We're going to close out. That was our regular show number 459. For Evan Scott, our champ, Johnny V, I'm the Disc Golf Guy. We'll see you in the after show when you step inside the Smash Box.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the Smashbox TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashboxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 459's After Show. Well, I'm going to come in. Great question right off the bat for you, Johnny.
I love it. I love it. Bring it on, Terry. I'll tell you the right answer.
That I would not bet on. Maybe this one I will.
Some faith, Terry. A little faith. You've known me for longer than Evan Scott or Evan Smith has been alive.
Yeah. Yesterday, I clicked on the Reddits,
Which is currently down right now.
and it said to me, well, first of all, I get some Reddit alert, probably just because the app's on my phone, and every once in a while, it sends me all of these updates.
People follow you. People things like
that. Thread updates, right?
Oh, sure. So if you made a comment, somebody else.
But I don't, and that's the thing. It's projecting. It's guessing. It's saying, hey, you might like this Reddit thread.
Yeah.
Here's something that's been said, or it's probably something that's highly trending or whatever.
I get that occasionally.
Right? I get one of those. I feel like almost every day, and then most of the time I try not to click on it because I'm like, I don't want to reinforce your bad behavior. Quit sending me this stuff. I don't really care about any other thread, and I know I could probably just unsubscribe to their little update that they're sending me.
You could turn
but
that
somehow I clicked on something, and next thing you know, I thought to myself, I don't go out there often. Kind of like Twitter, even less than though. I'll go ahead and the one Reddit thread I do subscribe to, of course, is our disc golf.
I don't subscribe.
And
I literally unsubscribe to it. I still go and visit it once in a while, but I unsubscribed because I couldn't deal with it.
Okay, so I went to it, but I didn't get very far because it said this community is private. And I'm like, wait, I subscribed to it. I
Nope.
think I'm logged in,
You are?
but it didn't let me see anything.
Nope.
And after
Blackout.
being considerably frustrated, I had to then Google it to figure out what the hell was going on. So why don't you explain to the world what I was experiencing?
So there is a sub-thread blackout, or a thread, I don't say a sub-thread, a channel blackout for Reddit right now. I believe from the I think it's the 12th, 13th, and 14th. I believe those are the days. I think it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Does that sound right? Something like that.
Yes, sure. Yep.
More or less protesting the changes Reddit is making to their what's called their API. So that is their information that third parties can access. Reddit, for a quick breakdown, Reddit wants to go public. So they want to go, they want to get that sweet stock deal action. And in order to do that, they need to show profitability. These third parties that are using their data are not paying a lot of money to do so. The API was very cheap. And so what they did then is they turned around and said, okay, cool. Guess what? We're going to make it not cheap anymore.
Like way more expensive?
Like way more expensive.
Okay.
To the point where one of the most popular third-party Reddit viewers was going to go from, I forget the exact number, what they were currently paying, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a year, to well over $1 million a year.
Oh, jeez.
And so
that's huge.
It's a huge difference. And the funny part is Reddit is like, yeah, but we're still cheaper than Twitter, which is really funny. And it's a whole thing. And again, it's because Reddit wants to make money, and they can't sell ads usually against third party. They charge them for the data, but they can't also charge them. They also don't do ads for those. Instead, the third parties get ads. The third parties do subscriptions. And so these third party viewers now are more or less all getting shut out. And one of the things that Reddit has been built upon for years and years and years is the community. Community. You can't hear it enough on Reddit. Well, now it looks like more or less Reddit is kind of saying, cool story, bro. This is going to blow over, and we're still going to get whatever money we're going to get, and we're going to go public. The change to private from all these APIs actually crashed Reddit for 3 hours. I think it was yesterday, or maybe it was early this morning. I forget exactly. But that is more or less the quick and dirty of why r/disc golf is currently locked out, and you cannot get to it. Because I thought the same thing. I didn't think anything of it Monday. I was I went into work and I typed in disc golf, and like I started typing in like DISC, and it had all these other ones, but not disc golf. I'm like, well, that's weird. And I just went to it then, and it told me the same thing. I was like, oh, good for them. And I forgot. I think I'd read sometime last week that they were going to participate in this. I mean,
so what's happening now though is channels like Our Disc Golf for Threads, Our Disc Golf, they are effectively operating in some, that's essentially a protest. They've set what the thread to some form of private so that no one can see it anywhere. That's essentially what it is.
Yep, they more or less shut down and said, "Cool, we're not doing anything." There's a great article out on The Verge, which is one of my favorite websites. It's a tech-related website for the most part, a little bit of culture, but mostly tech. And they have an interview with this guy named Christian Seelig, who runs Apollo, which is one of the more popular third-party apps. And he's more or less said, "Yeah, I'm not going to charge my users way more for my app in order to be able to make up that much money, because it would be charging them like 10, 15, $20 a month as opposed to the $10 a year he normally charges them."
Interesting. So will this have? Well, I already know then the answer. This is going to have some ripple effect, as did Twitter with its takeover, and whether it was an influx and then a massive decrease, and then there's just this constant pissing match as to.
I don't think so. I think Reddit's going to give them.
You think because they'll cave?
No, I don't think Reddit's going to cave at all.
Oh, okay.
I think that even, I believe their CEO or CFO, I forget who it was, more or less was quoted as saying, "This will blow over."
Oh, and they just think it'll be no big deal.
I just think that they're going to be
just like everyone thinks they're going to pay $8 for the Twitter verification.
No, but I mean, and this goes back to old school Twitter from a decade ago. Twitter as well was built on with a bunch of third-party apps. TweetDeck,
Hootsuite.
Hootsuite.
Yes, damn it.
Hootsuite.
That's what I meant.
All
Hootsuite and Boogie.
all these third-party apps that suddenly, a decade ago, had built and helped build the Twitter community. And when Twitter got big enough, they more or less said, "Cool story, bro. We're
for us to cash.
We're shutting it down, and we're going to charge you X amount, a lot of money for it," which isn't as much as now I think Elon Musk wants to charge for the API, but that's a whole different discussion. And they cut Twitter out. And it's the universal argument of building your business on the back of another business, as a third party to another business. I mean, it's the same discussion we kind of had last week about Twitch. And I was saying how, look what would have happened if the Pro Tour had built their industry around Twitch or even YouTube or something like that. Then you're at the whim of a third party. It's always best to have your own environment. And for better or worse, I don't want to see these third parties. I don't use them particularly, but I don't want to see these third parties get crushed, but they're going to. Reddit's a business. They need to make money. They are making money, but they want to make more money and more money.
Who owns Reddit?
Oh, God. I believe it's some sort of like a private equity firm, I believe. Let's type it in. Who owns Reddit? Advanced Publications, which is a Condé Nast. So Condé Nast owns it. The same people who own Vogue, I believe, and a bunch of other large organizations.
Okay. Well, anyway, I couldn't get to disc golf.
You couldn't get to it.
So I always want to say Ian, and I know Ian was a huge part of the Reddit community
very early on,
in the very early stages. I don't know that he's as actively involved right now. That I don't know one way or another, but that was always my impression. But the moderators over at Reddit decided, hey, we're going to participate in said blackout.
Yep. And I think they took a poll probably of a bunch of people that are on the Reddit, on the thread, and probably got their opinion. Should we do this? And if a decent amount of them said yes, shut it down. Now the question is, Reddit, you got Dig. For those of you who are really old internet, if you remember Dig and then Dig 2.0, which ruined Dig then everyone went to Reddit. Is this going to ruin Reddit when then everyone will go to a new place? The question is, what's the new place? Why
don't you write something up?
It's not my thing. Same thing you could ask. And a lot of it is because Reddit allowed so much of their data to be imported by these by the LLMs, which are the large language models, which run the AI chatbots, ChatGPT, Google Bard, all these other other ones. That so much of the data now is just in these LLMs that you can just ask a question and they have an answer. So you don't need to search Reddit.
Yeah.
And so now one of the other things that Reddit is doing is they're like, whoa, we're going to shut that spigot off, and you want our data, you're going to pay for it. So that's part of this as well. And these smaller third-party apps are kind of getting sucked into that because they don't want ChatGPT. If you want to do a search, if I want to do something like, hey, what's the best speed 810 disk or something? If I ask ChatGPT, they don't want it to say like, oh, according to Reddit,
Sure.
you should be throwing this disk. They want you to go to Reddit so they can serve you an ad. It's the internet. Have fun.
Oh gosh, I like the internets. It sounds great.
Carney Shell says, why can't I use a third-party app for DGN? They don't support it. They don't support third-party apps, which is funny because, I mean, not that they could. Realistically, technically right now they can't because they're on a Vimeo platform. But when they move to their own provider, I suppose there is a way they could do that because they don't really serve you ads in the app. They serve you ads in the video. So I would never expect it, to be honest. The Pro Tour is going to want to put make sure you're signed in and all this other stuff. It would be a nightmare and another thing they would have to monitor and troubleshoot and things like that. I would never count on it, and I don't blame them. I wouldn't want to do it either.
And I should have maybe even prefaced all of this questioning or thread, subject, topic, whatever, with clearly I'm not a hardcore Reddit user. Everybody has their preferred platforms in which they've gotten really acclimated to and or they grow or thrive in it. Obviously, some people, whether that's Twitter, whether that's Reddit, old like me, I guess, Facebook, whatever the case is, there seems to be your preferred platforms. And I occasionally dabble in the Twitter and Reddit. And it was
I like
probably Felix from Ace Run that just said it can be a challenge out there and or just a lot of people getting really mad. And I just, obviously, that's every single one of the platforms. It's just how do you interact with it and how do you do it? And I will never forget being told in like the 2015, 2016 timeframe, like disc golf Reddit is the end all be all for all information disc golf, for everything that you should ever want to learn or know about disc golf. And all I remember thinking is somehow Ken Climo's won 12 titles without Reddit at the time. And somehow I've branded myself as the disc golf guy with at that point never logging on to Reddit. And I'm not dismissing the community. I'm just making it very clear that I'm usually kind of a lurker that dips my toe in that water once in a while. And it's great. It's just not my preferred. I don't even want to say preferred. It's just not my most commonly visited.
Reddit doesn't make news. Reddit doesn't break news. Reddit posts news. Reddit, if you want a general temperature, there's a lot of people on the disc golf community in Reddit. You want
I think it was like 230, 250,000.
Something like that. If you want a general feeling on how the public probably feels about a particular subject, Reddit is a good place to go. You can look at, almost everything is posted there. If Terry Miller decides to, win an event and it's posted on Reddit, you could get a general feeling on what people probably think of Terry Miller.
Well, that's not a good idea.
No, probably not a good idea. But you would. That's what I use Reddit for. I look at it. Every once in a while, there's a decent conversation out there. But for the most part, you go out there just to kind of get the feeling of what the public feels. That's how I use Reddit in general. It's fine. I don't dislike Reddit. I prefer, I like Discord, and then Twitter, and then Reddit. Those are my particular communities. I had a huge conversation today with somebody. It was friendly, even though we kind of disagreed, but it was still a friendly conversation about baskets and spit putts and where the best place to hit the basket is. The discussion was, where do you aim and where do you hit? I said if you had a heat map of the basket of the best places to hit, the center won't be the brightest red. It'll be just off center. I think we talked about this last week.
Oh, we did.
And then he was like, yeah, but everyone aims at the center. I'm like, yeah, well, that doesn't necessarily mean, because his idea was the center is the best place to aim, because if you're off a little bit, you're more likely to still make it. I said, just because that's the best place to aim doesn't make it the best place to catch. And that was our going back and forth about how the baskets are made, and DGPT, if they're going to have a universal basket. It was just a very long, pointless thread. We went in circles and circles, but that was a fun, because it was just usually one or two people in a discussion. I think actually there was probably 4 of us in there just going off on Discord about that, and I enjoyed that because I had a slow day at work today. But that's a great place to have a conversation to me, is Discord. You would never do that in Reddit. You wouldn't do that on Twitter. It's different strokes for different folks.
All right. Well, speaking of your day at work, my day at work today partially involved visiting the Wisconsin Lions camp. I quickly touched on this last week, and then I forgot that it was actually today after our podcast. But yeah, I had the pleasure. I went up to central Wisconsin last evening, stopped in with a good buddy of ours, actually played golf with John Turlap, stopped in with another good buddy, Mike Schwieger, who's a good friend of ours, and then ventured all the way up into the Stevens Point, central Wisconsin, Central Waters, for those that care about their beer. It's in that general neck of the woods. But went to the Wisconsin Lions camp, who is a camp that's got a lake entirely to themselves, along with tons of cabins. And then they invite various groups and organizations to come in and then be part of, host their camp, whether it's for a week or 2 or whatever. They host it there at this facility. And this week this week is when the Epilepsy Foundation of Wisconsin is there. I learned today that they always book their week along with an organization that helps visually impaired campers from a totally different organization, but they purposely align themselves each summer with that group. They've got a long-standing relationship with them as well. So today I had the pleasure, I think the youngest was in the 9 or 10 area, and I think the oldest was maybe 16. I think he was the max age he could be there. So I had about 30-ish. It was going to be 32. I think it was a few less than that, but ultimately had 2 different groups this morning that I got to instruct disc golf to. And everybody got a mid-range, a disc. I did something I've never done before, which in hundreds of demos is kind of surprising. I intentionally brought a ton of extra Sharpies and specifically found mid-ranges that were either factory seconds or had a large relatively blank space. Now, every disc, every stamp is a little bit different, but tried to find some discs. Also had some tournament discs that had a ton of open space. And then we specifically took like 5-ish minutes to have the kids get as creative and as colorful as possible.
Oh, that's nice.
Because there's nothing worse, and this is maybe there's a pro tip here buried somewhere. It can be really frustrating for everybody that you go do a demonstration for scouts, camp, whatever, doesn't matter. And maybe you're only given 3, 4 different colors of discs by a manufacturer. That's what they sent you. And you have good discs that are, whether they're, baseline or top of the line, doesn't matter. But you only have 2 or 3 colors. Then you have 20 kids running around that all have similar colors. And, you're doing various skills and drills and whatnot. So to have them really dedicate a full 5 minutes to personalizing the top of their disc, it was actually great. And for some of them, they enjoyed that more than playing, which I'm totally good with. It was great to see. My favorite by far, there was one camper. I had a lot of yellow discs in particular, but one camper who had grabbed a yellow disc and then with her Sharpies created like it looked like a bunch of bees, little bee tracks all around the disc. It was absolutely awesome. And she was like 13 or 14 or something of that nature. And it was really cool to see. So got to teach them disc golf, gave them some basics. There's a course there right on
Did you teach them a forehand roller yet?
That was, of course. Before I even introduced myself, I'm like, guys, before you walk out today, you're going to be doing this. No, forehand roller was not.
Okay.
That didn't make the curriculum in my 30-minute, 45-minute session, but it should have.
I mean, that
I failed them. Just say it. Say I failed them.
that's a week 2
Maybe they'll
thing.
come, bring me back.
That's a week 2.
So it was cool. There's a course right there on site that is a little bit probably too challenging for some of these campers in particular, but just the fact that there's literally an 18-hole course with multiple tees on this private property. Like, you only
That's
can play
great.
there right now if you're a camper. And I think, how cool is that? So it's not even on UDisc. How cool is that? And it's a good course. It's absolutely awesome. And to me, as I posted on Instagram, it felt, and I've been to this camp and I've been to dozens of other camps, but today it really just hit like how full circle, because when I found disc golf, I was introduced to it by throwing regular Frisbees into red grocery baskets, the little handheld ones, at camp between 7th and 8th grade. And that's exactly where some of these students were, between 7th and 8th grade. And for some of them, now it was also funny that one of my questions is how many people have heard of disc golf, and 8 out of 9 are raising their hand. How many have played disc golf? 8 out of 9 or 7 out of 9.
Wow.
Or 8 out of 10 are raising their hand. You and I both know. You asked that
The last
question 10 years
decade,
ago, and one person's maybe heard of it. So certainly things continue to move in the right direction. But awesome experience. I'll do what I can to also, continue helping with any. I learned a little bit from some of the board members about just epilepsy awareness, some of the products that are being developed to help with seizures and things. It was incredible. So thank you. So if you see a few posts on the Instagrams or wherever, that's kind of the backstory to being up there again this weekend. They're going to have a fundraiser in September, I think, here at the Milwaukee County Zoo, one of their big walks. They have a lot of different fundraisers to help things just like this camp. I know they're going to have a couple different walks. They also have a walk, or they have a gathering, and a walk every year at Pierce Park, which you and I are familiar with in the Appleton area. So all the different regions around Wisconsin. So pretty cool. Anyway, that was my super duper experience up there today, and glad to do it. All right, I'm going to answer a couple questions on the board as Johnny's getting our Patreon people kind of lined, queued up for a giveaway here tonight. What really happened at band camp, Terry? I did not attend a band camp, but I did enjoy myself at any and all of the camps that I went to, which was just a couple of them. Robert Goyke out of Wisconsin. Not going to dox you, Robert, over there. Never mind. Other than the 15-minute 2-question interviews on PDGA Radio, do you know where to look for more information about board candidates? What a great question, Robert.
I heard there was going to be some follow-up information on candidates that I don't know if it's on the PDGA page or what, but I believe I saw Nova post about some follow-up questions that they were able to ask, and I don't know if that's going to be on the PDGA or not.
Yeah, I think I saw a snippet of that as well. I say it, and I really do want to do more with those any and all candidates. Honestly, I really do. I just don't know the logistically, and I do worry about a perceived favoritism in, having it work with one or two candidates that they join me or us or whatever, but then not being able to catch up with the others. And maybe that's on them. Maybe that's on us. I don't know. As silly as that might sound, I feel like it's a very all or nothing proposition to get it done. And I don't know if it's practical to get them all done.
Yeah.
But, so I just want to be transparent. That's where I stand.
Yeah, personally, from my perspective on the show, if we can't have them all, I feel like we should have none of them.
How about we get them all and we go back to our beloved COVID episodes, and then we make them play quiz show.
Yeah.
We make them play some quiz games, and then we see what kind of people they really are by the answers that they give. What were some of those? Quiplash.
Quiplash is
That was one of them. Allie, my daughter, the other day said, "Have you ever played Quiplash?" I'm like, "Yeah, from like a couple years ago." Yeah.
I mean, it's gone through a few iterations. They do a couple different versions, but yes.
So that kind of answers you, Bob. Kind of not. Daniel says, any late night recaps this week, Terry? There may or may not be. It's going to be.
Are you going to be at the Bourbon Cowboy? Because Terry will give you a recap there probably.
It's going to be a little different scenario. It's officially confirmed. There's a little conversation about it. But it's officially confirmed. My 14-year-old daughter, Allison, 14. I always say 14, going on 30. My calmer, less wild daughter, Allison, the 14-year-old, is going to be joining me this weekend. She's hopping in the car with me tomorrow. We're making the journey down a good 10-ish hours if we go the whole way. She's going to be joining me for the journey. And she's been to the Rocky Mountain Women's where she's competed and she's helped and been around. She's been to a few.
Has she ever done a car ride this long before?
Yeah, in some vacations that I didn't drive to, but some vacations to Florida and Alabama and such. So she's been part of that. So the car ride's not as daunting to her as it is to Mackenzie. But she'll be joining me this weekend and kind of an assistant when I'm out there on the course. So I'm looking forward to seeing how she processes it all. She knows what I do for a living. To what extent, she's going to find out when we're doing a Tournament Central show in the morning, the FPO round, Tournament Central, MPO round, so on and so forth. So with all of that, I don't foresee any late night recaps this particular weekend, but heck, maybe Allie will be my co-host, and we do have some recaps. We'll see how things go. That's what I'll say. Luke, who is running for a board position out of Australia, I don't know if we can officially endorse him. We let's put it this way: Luke was wearing a Smashbox TV shirt, I think, in his PDJ profile. It's hard not to love that. I'm just saying. He says there are additional supplementary questions that have been sent to candidates. Luke likes the idea of Smashbox Games Night. Fibbage and Quiplash. I don't know if we played Fibbage, but maybe we should.
We might have tried once. Quiplash was always the more fun one for everybody because you got to vote on other people's clever answers and
okay, like an apples to apples or
we always
card or
and everything sexual always won.
Yeah, that was
the way it worked.
Spock
or ripping on Smashbox.
Spock Hauser says, I heard there was a shooting after the Nuggets win, and the park where it happened is also a disc golf course. I can't confirm or deny. I heard nothing of that nature.
I heard there was a shooting that they say probably wasn't. I believe it was some sort of drug-related shooting, is what I last heard. It happened to happen after the Nuggets win.
Completely unrelated.
I believe they were together because of the Nuggets win, but it was drug-related. But it had nothing to do with disc golf. It just happened, I think, at a disc golf park. I don't know.
Okay.
And the Nuggets did win in 5, just as I called it.
Oh, you are so smart.
I only knew that the Nuggets were really, really good, and I gave the Bulls, or I'm not the Bulls, the Heat, 1 win, because you have to give somebody 1 win. I don't know squat about basketball.
Tim says, is she going to help with driving? No, it's funny to think about that. It's actually a little scary to think about that she
2
is
years.
14.
A year,
14,
technically.
not even. Like, I think you can get your temps now even earlier than we could. I think like the day you turn 15.
Yeah, you get it when you turn 15, yeah.
And she's 3 months short of that.
And last I heard, they don't even need to take a road test anymore.
They do not.
The parents can just sign off.
A parent can sign off on.
Are you going to have your kid take a road test?
Yes.
Good. I think I am too.
You need to go through that pressure. You need to. I don't know we don't know what it's like in your state, but at least in Wisconsin, with COVID in the last few years, one of my nieces did this. They did give the option that you're basically a parent could say, yes, I officially sign off on my son or daughter meeting the requirements or, I guess in some way you're like legally saying I'm signing off on them being okay to drive. That is, from what I was just told, that continues to be the case, but they're also have brought back road tests so that it could be one option or another. which is wild. But yeah, I believe the second she turns 15 now, though, she'll be able to get her temps. And I thought we had to be 15 and a half, right?
We did have to be 15 and a half.
Okay, so now that she turns 15 in October, 4 months.
Did you go to TriStar for your?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
We all had to. Well,
There was
or
like two of
Sears.
them. It was
Yeah,
that one or Sears.
Oh yeah, right next to Tom's Drive-In.
Right? Oh yeah, you go to Tom's Drive-In every break.
Yeah.
Go get yourself.
I almost went there
cheese
last
curds.
night. That's another story.
Oh,
Up in the Fox Cities.
Mm.
So no, she won't be helping drive, but I did think of that. And I thought, oh man, we're driving to Kansas. Like, if there's anywhere that I'd feel safe letting her drive for the first time, it's some of those interstates
Open
in the
roads.
middle of the day. Yeah,
open.
but she will
roads.
not. She will not. She may help me draft up press conference questions. Maybe when she's in the passenger seat, she can type up press related questions.
That's a great idea.
While we're driving, we'll have plenty of time. Ohio required a full driver's training course. Okay. Only 3 months until Terry has a designated driver. That's not really a big concern of mine or a problem of mine. I'm not usually in that position. So, but I guess in theory, well, not really, because in order for her to come get you at a bar, I think at least at that point she'd have to have her full license.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, I don't think you can be. I'm actually pretty sure I can't be intoxicated. Well,
as long as she's underage, I don't believe you can be.
Yeah, I wouldn't assume. So if she's 15 and a half and has her temps, or 15 and has her temps, and I'm the lone person in the car, I myself, I think that would defeat the purpose.
It would.
If somebody's, I'm sure right now there's a parent out there that is blitzed and is thinking it's great, but I don't think legally that's the way that you should be going from a legal perspective. GPO Studios says, when I was that age, Ohio required under 18 to take a driver's ed to get their license and take the road test.
And we
taking classes paid for themselves with the insurance discounts, though. Yeah, that's.
I mean, when we were younger, we had to take a driver's ed class.
Yes.
And then take a road test.
Yes. All of that
as well. Now, I don't believe we got any sort of insurance discount because you're required to have insurance. So,
and he also they say also couldn't get our temp permits till we were 15 and a half.
Same here.
Yeah, that's the way we were, but now it's straight up 15, which is crazy. And it is interesting because my daughter,
I'm okay with 15 versus 15 and a half. I mean, they can't drive without a parent anyway. So
my daughter is going to be one, because her birthday is in October, is going to be on the somewhat older side of her class, which will be just different feelings and pressures. I mean, my best friend, when I was at that age, was a full year and 2 days older than me. His birthday was on August 2nd. I'm on the 4th, but he was a full year, and we were in the same grade. So that was great once Paul got his license. It was him and I everywhere. If you can still spin a disc on your finger, you ain't drunk. No, I've seen a lot of drunk people spin discs on their fingers, and I'm not naming any Germans that have trick shots. Should the rough be changed so players can't have a run-up? The rough be changed, though?
So defined more or less, I think, should we be defining fairways? Which would be very difficult to do, I believe.
Yeah,
and
nearly impossible. On a lot of courses.
On a lot of courses, it would be nearly impossible to define an actual fairway. And then off the fairway, you wouldn't get a run-up. Now, as cool as that would be, I don't think it's logistically possible in our current state of disc golf, because look at Zootown Open this past week. How do you do that on a mountain course? I don't think it's possible. Now, you could argue that there are spots like Hazards where a player couldn't have a run-up. I don't necessarily love that. But, I mean, it's a thought, but not for me.
Yeah, I continue to think about, obviously jump putting is always part of a conversation, follow-throughs, all of those types of things. I feel like it's going to be really hard for us to adopt some of those scenarios that would drastically change the entire. Like if you had a 600-foot hole and and I'll just say you're playing MA2 and you throw 275, which is great, or MA3, whatever. You throw 275, and you're saying on your second shot on a 600-foot hole, you're not allowed to run up. Again, I know I'm just like picking out some random examples, but that sounds, first of all, that sounds miserable, and that's just a completely different game of disc golf to me.
It would be very different. I am more along the lines of changing jump putt rules first, which I don't think would have as dramatic of a impact than I would be to say, eliminating run-ups or something like that. I do believe, well, Adondo says eliminating outside the circle jump putts will be the first one to go. Yeah.
Outside which circle? Any circle? Any jump putts?
Here's what I think. I don't think we should or will probably ever quote unquote change circle one.
Yeah, I don't see it getting redefined. I don't see it getting
and circle two is just made up by UDisc.
Correct.
Like that ain't nowhere in
nowhere in the rules.
UDisc is
a
made
66 meter or I'm sorry, 66 foot or 20 meter reference made anywhere in the rule book.
Yeah, that was I believe a Steve Dodge invention.
Steve and or UDisc, yeah.
Correct. For the Disc Golf Pro Tour, which obviously has caught on just as a reference, but it's so much, as we've always said, it's so much more difficult to determine if you're 55 versus 65 away than if you're 28 versus 35. It's just, you're so much further away that I think the distances, it would take a long time for us to really get that zoned in, and it just almost impossible without literally having a rangefinder, which we have now. So you could tag it off and be like, oh no, I'm 62.5 feet away.
Yeah, I'll read a few more things on the board. Carolina Chainbanger says, when I first started playing, I thought any shot after the tee shot had to be standstill. I mean, and if you practice that, you probably very quickly push forward and enhance your standstill throwing capabilities. I mean, that might have been a funny blessing in disguise, depending on how much you honed in on that skill set or how quickly it was before you were corrected. But I mean, I could understand somebody not necessarily knowing better or having some kind of golf background and just making that assumption. I could see how someone could arrive at that. But I do not in any world want to see that become an actual policy. Just, I don't care for that. Ben says, have a dude, the jackhammer. Okay. Ryan Pilcher, hope you're doing well. Ryan says, what if disc golf courses instead of sand bunkers, there were water bunkers, 1 to 2 feet deep water, no penalty, but would be pretty hard footing to have to run up?
You might, I think that's dumb.
Oh, full disclosure, Johnny knows Ryan personally.
I do. I know Ryan personally.
You called him a dum-dum.
I did not call Ryan. I said I think the idea is dumb. Now, putting sand is different. Just because putting water, you walk in and get your... I don't understand the concept is it's harder to walk or run through water. But now suddenly it's like, oh, cool, I got to take off my socks and my shoes and get in, or I just get in and I have wet feet. Like, you're penalizing now someone for the rest of the day because they threw one bad shot. That's why I think this is dumb. Now, sand, on the other hand, where you're not really, it's tougher to run through, or letting grass grow really high. But again, this is all reliant on us having our own courses.
Yeah.
Because you can't put Emporia Country Club isn't going to let you put a new sand bunker in where we want. As great as that is, it's like, no, right in the middle of hole one, about 450 feet, I want a big sand bunker. And they're going to look at you and go, no, get bent. So I like kind of the concept, Ryan. I just don't like the idea of water. It just that part doesn't do it for me. But what would happen is, Ryan says, that's the penalty. Now your feet are wet. Yeah. I just think most people would take off their socks and shoes, or everyone's going to start wearing those shoes like Eagle wears and that slide on and off, and then you'll just take them off.
All right. Spock says, I'd like Circle 2 to just be the green and no stepping or jumping on the green. 2 putts in pars and golf for reach the green regulation. Yeah, so you're essentially saying you'd like, in so many words, you'd like Circle 1 and its rules to be applied all the way throughout Circle 2. And I guess what I would say to that is I look at, there's just so many instances where our green might not even be Circle 1 distance in the first place. And so I don't know that I'm worried about how deep Circle 2 is. I guess those are unrelated, but yeah, I'm not worried about that at all. I'm just trying to think of a good example where it would really make a huge difference. I mean, maybe the question is, are you just looking to eliminate jump putts, right? Is that what you're trying to get at? Yeah, it's just, where do you draw that line as to what is the right range or distance? Or you could just be Gannon Burr and stand still from 123.
Yeah, and drop it in like that. That's stupid.
That's really is
ridiculous.
Yeah. I played a hole last night that was, I think, 110 feet or something like that. And then I turned to my buddy John. I'm like, yeah, Gannon Burr, like, he made this with a standstill, just like launch. And that's obviously insane. All right. Austin says, do a PDGA member vote, then if most votes say no run-up, and then make no run-up same for... Oh, do a PDGA member vote. Then if most votes say no run-up, then make the run-up the same for jump putting. I mean, that like dips its toes into a whole nother conversation about how big of a rule and a scenario before we put things up for a member vote. And then should that be what's dictating the rules in which we're playing by? And then I feel like that can get to a very slippery slope because again, Circle 2, literally the phrasing did not exist 7-8 years ago.
Yeah.
It didn't exist. For 30 years in disc golf, no one ever called it C1 or C2 for that matter. It was just those terms didn't exist. They've come along because of some stat keeping and the incredible advances of UDisc. I don't think we need to be changing rules then based on something that we've just been referring to in a statistical situation.
Yeah.
And it could be very, I guess my point is, and it could be looked upon very differently in 5 years. And then are we going to change the rules again? It's just such a major rule change. But I guess anything can happen. Fewer players are going to run a 50-footer without a step, so they'll lay it up, creating score separation. Disc golf has a higher percentage of putts going in from 30 to 40 feet range. The idea is to reward closer approaches and drives to give longer birdie looks. The obvious play is to lay up. I'll say there are there's a higher percentage of putts going in, largely because people have gotten that much better at putting. I forget who said it, maybe in a documentary or something not too long ago, where someone had said, Matty O said it on one of my videos. That's where it was. He said, back in the day, you knew who the good putters were. There were like 10 of us.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were the clear-cut best putters. Now, when you could have 15 MPOs for a year, have 90+ percentage from C1, and you have your own Scoggins and a Missy Gannon and a Heather Young and a number of these players that are just phenomenal, and you know that, and we have stats to back it up. We have that many more players that are putting that much more emphasis on being good putters, and we have that many more players as a pool. So I don't know if it hasn't gotten any easier. I just think it's been easier to notice and to track, and more people are putting more effort into it. And I think there's a lot of people who are less scared, and that's exactly what Turlap said last night. There's a lot of players who are aggressive, again, and whomever, aggressive from 40, 50, 60 feet, because they're not afraid of a 30-foot comebacker, because they're so damn good from 30 feet as well. So they're aggressive from even the C2 range.
And not to harp on baskets, it also comes back to the basket. I think the baskets, putting on a Mach 7, a Mach X, a newer Chain Star is way different than the old Mach 3s.
Or a Mach 1.
Or a Mach 1. But I just even, when you and I use Mach 3s mostly. I mean, we had a couple. It's just different. It is different. They putt so much more aggressive because they can, because those baskets catch better. Or they catch more. Better is a funny term because define what you want better. So the putt can be more aggressive because if you hit it hard, you hit a Mach 3 hard like that, it's probably going through all those chains and coming out the back. And so you can be aggressive and it's going to catch. But as you said, they're also better putters. They're not afraid of 20-foot comebacks like most of us were.
Yeah.
You know, if you had a 20-foot comeback, you're like, oh, gee, that's a knee knocker. These guys, they're virtually tap-ins.
Speaking of the newest lineups and additions, an unpaid ad coming at you, and it's not an ad, but I did get an alert. Our friends over at Double G have now, even as the header shows, Double G Snacks. They are offering trail mix and whole mixed dried fruits, adding to their lineup of jerky. This was something that I knew was coming down the pipe. I'm not paid to say this. I just eat the jerky all the time, but I did get a little email, so I just thought I'd share it with you. You're going to see some more snacks and other, obviously jerky's not necessarily for everybody, and now they're branching out, which I think is a very smart decision on their part. So
next up,
nothing more than randomly reading my email and thought I'd share that with you. This is an unpaid announcement for Double G Snacks.
What isn't unpaid is us.
What?
If you give us money on patreon.com/SmashboxTV, you can be eligible for our weekly giveaway, which we're about to do here. We have 143 people eligible for our giveaway. As I said in the regular show, you can become eligible, and I saw some people do it, by going to smashbox.tv/weekly giveaways. We have 143 people eligible, Terry.
Oh, wait, let me go sign up. Hold on.
Nope, you don't get to sign up.
I don't give any money, but I could do it that way.
Friends and family not included.
Damn it. Okay.
So, with 143 people, we're going to give something away. What and how, Terry, would you like to do this?
I think we generate the third number, and however that corresponds with your nifty little spreadsheet. I still have, I might have to dig a little deeper. I still have plenty of goodies, some limited edition goodies, in fact, that came as part of my Skyline Classic. And I've still got a few of those nice little Frisbees to give away, so maybe we should do some of that.
All right, we're going to generate the third number, and we're going to do that. I believe I sorted it by first name today. I think it was pretty simple, but let me verify that either way. First number is 46. Second number is 120. Terry, you're obviously going lower than 120, right?
No, I'm going to go wild. I think it's going to be between 121 and 143.
All right.
Very slim.
Our third and final one is 104.
Damn it.
You lose Terry Miller.
I'm a loser.
104. Let me pull up the spreadsheet, which is right here. And I did sort it by name. 104 is Robert C. Dahmen. Congratulations, Robert.
Robert, I like it. I haven't sent anything to Robert in a while.
No, we haven't. I could probably look up the last time we did.
Appreciate it, Robert. Thank you so much. We will get some of that sweet Skyline limited stuff out to you.
I don't know if we've ever sent anything out to Robert.
Well, I was just thinking I hadn't recognized the name in quite some time, if ever. So that's
thank you, Robert.
That's how I could boastfully say that.
Well, thank you, Robert.
Confidently say that.
I'm very happy that you are what looks to be a first-time winner. And you know why he's a first-time winner? He's one of the people that signs up at Smashbox.tv/weekly giveaways.
Oh, Robert.
Because it doesn't say...
It pays to... Wait a minute. We say it pays to support, and this guy...
doesn't support, but he still won. I was wondering, because I was like, I don't remember sending anything to him. And he's not listed as active patron, which means he signed up on the sign-up sheet. So congratulations. See?
It pays to pay attention.
It pays to pay attention sometimes. Way to go, Robert. Yeah, the name sounded familiar because he signs up every single week.
Ah, there you go.
And he finally wins. So congratulations. I'm happy for you, Robert.
Okay. I like it. Do we have any other topics? I don't know if the board does, but if not, this may be a little bit on the light side of the after show, which I'd be okay with. I've got 10 hours of driving tomorrow, along with some packing to do.
How much time on the road are you going to spend on the phone with your daughter in the car?
Not as much as normal. I did get some. I got a handful of phone calls accomplished today, which was great. I had some driving to do today. on the way back from this demonstration. So I did get a few things checked off my list today as well. I also stocked a gas station up in the area that you and I used to live. Stocked them last night. Got them all filled up with.
Not stalked them.
No,
stocked them up with plastic.
I stocked them all up with some fresh new plastic, so that was good. And anyway, yeah, made some phone calls today that got some stuff done. Had a great conversation with Matt Rothstein over at the PDGA, talking about some of my involvement that you're going to see me at the Pro Masters Worlds. And
so exciting.
So I'm really excited about that and to see what we're going to be doing. I'll be in part, a portion of their media team for the Pro Masters Worlds in Flagstaff. So
then I have to ask, if you're driving there with Allie, same thing Tim asks, what's going to be on the playlist?
Well, we'll be on the playlist.
Are you going to let her choose? I mean, is it going to be like 6 hours of Taylor Swift? Are you going to find like an audiobook for you guys to listen to?
Honestly, that's what I was thinking. Is I wouldn't be surprised if we found some form of audiobook and or podcast,
murder mystery one.
No, something that would I'd love for her, because she doesn't listen to any podcasts.
Smashbox TV.
God, no. I was thinking if there's something that makes sense from a business or an entrepreneurial perspective of, like, so for instance, she's lightly into flipping items and or purchasing things at a thrift shop and then selling them. So if there was, it's not just about flip life, but if there was something entrepreneurial or customer service or business related, maybe there would be some interest in that that we could listen to. I'm sure there'll be a lot of conversations along those lines. She's very much a sponge at this point, which is really interesting as to what she's soaking in. So I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be. I did say to her tonight before I came here, I said, make sure you download wherever you want from Netflix or wherever. So, because she very well for a portion of it is going to tune out entirely, which, put her head, pull up her phone, listen in with her earbuds, and then, probably just watching consumer-owned stuff. But I'm sure there'll be plenty of conversation and other random stuff. It's going to be interesting because we've never been on this much of a drive together. When we've gone some longer distances, like to the Rocky Mountain Women's, we had flown out there. So this will be the longest drive time for the two of us. So we'll see how that goes.
And I'm just thinking, my family, we're in the middle of making summer vacation plans. We're going to go to Niagara Falls over 4th of July week, staying in the U.S. side because some of us don't have our passports up to date. And I was thinking, like, what are we going to, that's going to be 2 or 3 long days of driving between going to Niagara Falls, heading over to Pennsylvania, and then coming back into Cleveland, probably for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and then heading home. That's 3 days of driving broken up into different days. I'm like, what's my family going to listen to? Or do we have a podcast set or anything like that? And I don't know yet, but I'm sure we'll do the same thing and download a bunch of stuff for the kids to watch in the back seat. And my wife will listen to her audiobook, and I'll probably listen to my podcasts for one day, and then we'll all have our own thing.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that's going to go down. I'm kind of interested. K-pop for 10 hours? No. Spock says, Terry, do you know if Simon has ever had spotted cow? I believe that he has.
I think he did when he was here.
Yeah, I feel like he did, and I don't think he lost his mind, so to speak, or anything too crazy with it. But I believe he did when he was here. Obviously, that's a staple within Wisconsin. I did stop. I know I made a quick reference to it earlier. I did stop at Central Waters on my way back tonight from this event. And Central Waters is in central Wisconsin, but it is very, very active with the disc golf community. And they have discs with their logo on it, and they've been supporting a local event that Johnny went to a few months ago. They're just very, very ingrained and in tune with our disc golf community, even though they're a few miles outside of the main area. And I picked up a couple of Imperial Stouts and some special barrel-aged stuff that I could only pick up there. So I finally stopped in. That's one of their specialties, is some barrel-aged stouts. And apparently it's not very common in a lot of places. That's what I'm finding more of. So we'll see. The Latitude 64 auto-tune commercial. We listened to that last week. Johnny showed it to me after the show.
We wrapped
after
up.
the after show. Johnny, we found it. He showed it to me. People made it sound like it was 100 sets of cat nails on being dragged across chalkboards. I didn't think it was that bad. Do I want to listen to it 33 times in a weekend? No. But, I mean, people made it sound like it was just literally the worst commercial and worst sound on the planet. And I just very much disagree.
Again, I don't believe it was. I had no issue with it.
So I'm not suggesting we're going to download and watch or listen to it, but
you think we could do an entire podcast auto-tuned, Terry? Let's do it.
Yeah, people that people would love. Were there any Rebel Stouts? I don't think so. How many times did you watch it though?
We watched it, I think, twice. We went through it twice, and I watched the same as you guys. It just didn't bother me as much as some of the other commercials.
Yeah. Spock says, referring to Spotted Cow, it's not an amazing beer, but it hits the spot on a hot day in the shade. Yes, it is definitely, like we said, a staple within Wisconsin, and one everyone's very proud to share. And then maybe part of it is the name that people, it's just very memorable being called Spotted Cow. But I don't know. It's also not up my alley. Speaking of Allie, my daughter Allie and I are going to get ready. So we're going to get out of here, Johnny and I. We're going to thank you guys after show. A little bit of Reddit, a little bit of other chit-chat that's going on. Excited, really honestly looking forward to the DDO this weekend. All exclusively, we didn't even talk about it, but all exclusively at the Country Club. You're going to see Tournament Central taking place there. Ian and Philo and Zoe are going to be on site, which is always exciting anytime you have the booth on site. There still may be some visits to the Bourbon Cowboy. Anything and everything is on the table. We'll see how this weekend goes down, but we're looking forward to it.
If for some reason, I know it is not an uncommon thought, if you're not a fan of the Country Club, you can always tune into the Conopiche Day Open. It'll be on the DGN as well. Paul Macbeth will be there, as well as, I think, Yakub.
Yakub's there.
Yeah,
since he's from there.
Yeah, more than likely Yakub will be there as well.
And a bunch of others. So, yeah, you got options. Plenty of options.
Antela is going to be there as well, and Stokely. So in the off chance you don't love
Silver, KJ Nybo,
Blair.
I'm looking for other names that jump right out at me that I already know. Nate Perkins.
Oh, Perks is there?
Perks is there.
Right.
So, yeah, there you go.
Yuha?
Heck yeah.
All
right, people, thank you. Sunscreen, yeah, I'll try and find some. Maybe I'll make Allie hold the umbrella or something like that. Will we only see half of Northwoods Black? We don't know what the plan is, but I'm interested to find out that answer myself. So as soon as I know, we'll certainly be reporting back. For Johnny V, I'm the Disc Golf Guy. That's been Podcast After Show 459. We'll see you next week when you step inside the Smashbox.